Chapter 745. Gu Shan turned into Wang Cheng and quickly walked towards the main ship. As soon as he left the wreckage, he saw the second mate standing at the entrance of the main ship, coldly staring at him. The search is over. Everyone has returned to the main ship. Only the second mate was still standing here. It was as if he was waiting for someone. Gu Shan glanced at him, didn't say anything, and walked into the main ship's passage. Wang Cheng, where's your fiend? As they walked past, the second mate couldn't help but ask. The matter is over, so it went back, Gu Shan answered. The second mate was a bit stunned, then gave her a small bag. This is your salary for this month. Everyone else has already received it. Only you haven't, he said. Ah, thank you. No wonder you were waiting for me here. Gu Shan received the bag. He didn't even look back as he walked through the passage and disappeared. The second mate stared at his back without moving. A while later, the second mate muttered, "Damn brat." Finally got rid of the fiend. He let out a long sigh, and a relaxed expression appeared on his face. If Wang Cheng didn't have such a powerful devil king by his side, who would be afraid of him? He didn't know that Wang Cheng could summon a devil king before. Otherwise, if he really wanted to deal with a summoner, all he needed to do was not give the summoner enough time to chant the summoning incantation. This was very easy to do in a cramped environment like the ship. While thinking, the second mate slowly walked into the main ship's entrance. On the other side, Gu Shan was walking through the public area of the ship. He saw the first mate's corpse hanging together with 7 to 8 other corpses displayed in front of everyone. Several crew members were gathered here, discussing this. So Wang Cheng had wrongly blamed the second mate. It was actually the first mate who did this. I've already felt that there was something wrong with the first mate. Humph. He's always been able to cover the sky with one hand. And now the captain finally found out what he did, helping Bai Yu and Zhang Yi kill Wang Cheng. I wonder how much money he took. Regardless of how much money he took, he finally got what he deserved. Now that I think about it, he must have been the one who killed the previous crew members. Gu Shan did not step forward. He quietly listened to the people's discussion. According to Wang Cheng's memories, there would occasionally be deaths in previous missions. However, this was inevitable. Engaging in such a dangerous job would definitely require a certain amount of risk. However, earlier today, the spaceship was suddenly attacked by monsters and many people died. This could only be considered unlucky. Gu Shan's gaze swept past the first mate and looked at the other corpses. According to the captain's notice, these people were accomplices of the first mate. They had been helping the first mate arrange all kinds of secret matters, betraying the captain's trust. According to the rules, these people should also die. But this way, the situation of the spaceship was not too good. A group of people died when they encountered the monster, and another group of people died when they betrayed the captain. Now, there were not many people left on the spaceship. Fortunately, although the captain's punishment was harsh, it was for the good of everyone, so the remaining people were at ease. Gu Shan tilted his head and looked through the window at the space vortex outside the ship. That was the vast space leading to the 200 million world layers, where countless ferocious monsters lived and thrived. Even the civilizations of different races had to travel through this seemingly endless space to reach other worlds. According to Wang Cheng's memories, to ensure the safety of the spaceship, at least a dozen people were needed to operate the ship at the same time. But now, most of the people on the ship had already died, leaving only 7 to 8 people. Seems like the ship will need to hire more people after reaching the black market. Gu Shan shook his head and left. He returned to Wang Cheng's personal cabin. Closing the door, opening the bag that he just received, Gu Shan shook the coins onto the table. Clink, clink, clink. The metal coins gave off a pleasant sound as they hit the table. These were blue metal coins, heavy and sturdy. Not only were they sturdy, but they were also engraved with magical key runes to prevent counterfeiting. The obverse of the coin was engraved with a 6-armed monster, while the reverse side was engraved with the most widely accepted universal language of the 900 million world layers with a 7. This was the number 7 coin. In the strife zones, according to their purchasing power, there were a total of 1,001 number 7 coins. The larger the number, the more purchasing power they had. Among the total of 1,001 number 7 coins, the number 7 coin's purchasing power could only be considered the lowest. How much money could a job like picking up scraps of spaceships make? The truly powerful flying transports couldn't be easily discovered by normal monsters. Only those without money would ride on these highly dangerous and trashy flying transports. Most of the time, it was these worst flying transports, as well as the poor people on them. Because of that, picking up trash really couldn't make much money. Trying to make a fortune from this was no different from daydreaming. And Wang Cheng's tragedy was exactly like that. If his evil creature summoning technique could improve a bit more, he would be able to leave this line of work and find a better job. But he wouldn't get the chance. Gu Qingshan silently sighed, retracted her thoughts, and silently stared at Wang Cheng's pay. The entire table was filled with blue number 7 coins, a total of 40 of them. This was Wang Cheng's pay. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then lightly pulled something from a certain part of his personal cabin according to Wang Cheng's memories. A small box appeared in front of him. He lifted the box up and opened it on the table. The entire box was filled to the brim with number 7 coins. Gu Qingshan smiled bitterly. Fine, I'm currently broke. Even if these coins are the lowest of the lowest, it's still a bit of wealth. He took out one of the coins and carefully observed it. The 6-armed monster on the coin sensed his gaze. The monster seemed to be very annoyed. It even threateningly waved its arm at Gu Qingshan. 2 lines of text were carved below the monster frowny face 6 claws. Small monster, characteristics, thick skin, low threat. Reading these 2 lines of text, Gu Qingshan's lips curled into a mocking smirk. Small monster, low threat? He muttered to himself. Gu Qingshan had seen this 6-armed monster before when he first left the novice world. At the time, this monster was rampaging through the space vortex. Not a single entity dared to provoke it. Gu Qingshan saw it with his own eyes, eating whoever it wanted in the space vortex, the epitome of invincibility. However, it was only ranked 7th and was called a small monster. It was evaluated as a weak threat. According to Wang Cheng's memories, the Strife Zones issued a total of 1,001 number 1 coins, each of which was carved with a different monster. These monsters were also ranked according to their strength. The monster carved on the number 1 coin was the weakest. The strongest monster was carved on the number 1,001 coin. But it wasn't easy to see that monster. It was said that in the age of old, even the divinities had to fight against that monster for several years before they managed to kill it. That monster only existed in legends. Normal people wouldn't even have the chance to look at it, even if they looked at it from the coin itself. Within the 200 million world layers, the majority of people wouldn't even be able to see the number 1,001 coin with their own eyes. If a normal professionist was able to use the 500th coin, they wouldn't have to worry about food or clothing in the Strife Zones. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and sighed. He put all the number 7 coins into the box and put it away in his inventory bag. As soon as he did that, Gu Qingshan's expression changed. He took out a piece of newspaper. This was the Spire Keeper's newspaper that Miao gave him. The first thing he saw was a picture. A towering pagoda was cut in half at the middle and was slowly collapsing. Lines of text quickly appeared below the picture. The day of the spire's destruction. An indescribable terror has descended. It came so quickly that it surpassed everyone's expectations. The Tower of Knowledge created by the old gods has been destroyed. The Spire Keeper Association has suffered heavy casualties, but they are still making their last stand. Emergency rescue. Emergency rescue. All Lord class and above combatants of the 900 million world layers to come and help. This is a war that concerns the survival of the entire 900 million world layers. If we lose this time, it will become even more powerful. So for the sake of your survival, please come to the world of the Spire and join the battle. Reading the newspaper, Gu Qingshan held his breath. The situation? Is this serious? This was completely out of his expectations. That thing in the God Institute had the face of half a man, half a woman. So what exactly is it? What kind of entity would be able to destroy the Tower of Knowledge, created by the old gods, in one fell swoop? Is there really no one who can stop it? Gu Shan couldn't help but think about it again. At this point, the content of the newspaper had been fully displayed, and he had finished reading the entire article. But before he could put the newspaper away, another unimaginable event occurred. The figure of light appeared in front of him. It appeared in front of all living beings of the 200 million world layers of the strife zones. With a solemn and sacred tone, the figure of light declared, "Announcement. The first follower to light the tree of divinity has been born. The path to godhood has officially begun. The divinity barrier set up by the old gods will be activated. The strife zones will be hidden from the 900 million world layers." Chapter 746. In the long river of time, events that could shake the entire 900 million world layers would always happen out of the blue. Almost no one could predict these events that could change history, and no one would be able to find out the ins and outs of these events at the time. Countless undercurrents were hidden in the shadows, and even the great gods couldn't control the course of events. The figure of light appeared without any warning. No one thought that it would bring forth a new declaration and rule so quickly. However, 1 second before the figure of light made its declaration to the 200 million world layers of the strife zones, the entire strife zones suddenly turned dark. Blinding streaks of light appeared all over the strife zones, dragging long trails of light behind them. It was like a meteor shower, but an indescribably vast power had enveloped the entire meteor shower, making it so that no one could tell where this meteor shower came from. Even the most powerful entities of strife zones only knew that countless unknown things had broken through space and time, descending directly into the strife zones from extremely far away. But what exactly these things were, and where they came from, they had no answer. Even the most powerful combatants couldn't find out where those meteors went. This scene only lasted for a second. A short second. Just the right second. All the meteors vanished, disappeared, and went into hiding, as if they never existed in the first place. The strife zones returned to normal. It was now that the figure of light's voice came. It solemnly declared frowny face announcement. The first follower to light the book of divinity has been born. The path to godhood has officially begun. The divinity barriers set up by the gods will be activated. The strife zones will be hidden from the 900 million world layers. From now on, anyone who leaves the strife zones will not be able to enter the strife zones again. Following its declaration, the entire strife zones within the 900 million world layers abruptly disappeared. This was the divinity barrier set up by the 7 gods with their full power. Its only purpose was to hide the entire strife zones. No one knew what the 7 gods were thinking in order to make such a predetermined setting. But the gods probably didn't expect that right before the entire strife zones was hidden, a meteor shower had already arrived. On the ship, the captain carefully listened to the figure of light's declaration. Even after the figure of light disappeared, he didn't move. Someone has already lit the tree of divinity. The captain sighed. There seemed to be some emotion in his tone that he could no longer suppress. That's right. By igniting the tree of divinity, one would be able to learn the knowledge and skills of the gods. Someone had already reached this step first. As for himself, he was still painstakingly looking for a sufficient amount of travel expenses. It wasn't just the travel expenses. Wouldn't he have to bribe everyone after he got to the shrine? Lighting the tree of divinity aside, wouldn't cultivating the god's skills require resources? In this world, if you don't have enough money, nothing can be done. Not to mention becoming a god. Even maintaining the most basic decency and dignity of a professional required the support of sufficient funds. The captain bowed his head and was silent for a moment. He clenched and unclenched his fist several times before clenching it again. It's about time. The only threat is Wang Chung, but Wang Chung has already dismissed the demons. Looks like I have to wrap things up now. He had made so many preparations. Wasn't it all for this day? Since things had come to this, what was there to hesitate about? The captain finally clenched his fist and made his final decision. On the other side, Gu Shan was standing inside Wang Cheng's personal cabin. The newspaper in his hand had already finished displaying all the news. He didn't know that outside the ship, In the 200 million world layers of the strife zones, a meteor shower was currently flashing across the sky. However, he was facing another unusual situation. The newspaper in his hand suddenly caught fire. Without enough time to react, the flames that appeared out of nowhere burned the entire newspaper black. But the newspaper didn't turn to ash. It was like a piece of black cloth that was spread open in Gu Qingshan's hand. Gu Qingshan's expression changed. He could tell that this wasn't just a simple newspaper. It seemed to have some other unique function. This newspaper was something Miao casually gave to him at the time. Now that I think about it, if this newspaper isn't simple, then Miao must also have some sort of deeper meaning. Unlike her thick-headed brother, Miao always had her own thoughts when she did things. Then, what exactly is this piece of black cloth that's hidden under the newspaper? Gu Qingshan doubtfully thought about it. A faint light lit up on the surface of the black cloth. This ray of light scattered into specks of dim light, forming a dense fog. This was a very strange sight. While Gu Qingshan was still confused, the war god UI suddenly lit up. Lines of glowing text appeared on the UI. The seal on the surface of the secret message black cloth has been dispelled. You've discovered an item. Blade Edge Pledge's secret message black cloth. Grade. Unique item. Doomsday Chronicles event description. Blade Edge Pledge is one of the most mysterious organizations in the 900 million world layers. There are no public records of what it has done in the past. Only top-level combatants know that it truly exists. War God skills. This secret message black cloth is a unique item that allows certain organizations to communicate with each other through space and time. You cannot learn any skills from it. Gu Qingshan quickly skimmed through everything. Before he could think too much, a female voice came from the faint fog on the black cloth. Who's on the other side? The woman's voice was broken and low, sounding like the last sound of a person on the brink of death. Hearing this familiar voice, Gu Qingshan couldn't stay calm anymore. He immediately asked, "Is that Yinji? Cloud Lady of Calamity, Lady Serena?" A series of noises came from the other side. After a while, the noises finally calmed down. The female voice came again. "Gu Qingshan, I was wondering why someone from our side would be nearby. So it was you." She breathed heavily, then struggled to continue. "My wounds are too severe. I can't move at all, so I can only send you my location. If you don't have anything else important to do, come and save me." On top of the black cloth, the misty sprites of light began to gather, flowed from the black cloth into Gu Qingshan's hands, then reached his thoughts sea. Gu Qingshan immediately knew where the other party was. "Wait a bit, I'm coming," he loudly said. Yinji replied, "I can't hold on much longer, but I can at least tell you a few things before I die. So hurry up." This sentence seemed to have exhausted all her strength. After she finished speaking, her voice was completely cut off. Gu Qingshan paused. He then took out a navigation map from the drawer and carefully checked it. Following Wang Cheng's memories, Gu Qingshan compared the coordinates on the map and quickly found Yinji's location. Greyhound Black Market. Yinji is at Greyhound Black Market. According to the coordinates, she shouldn't be too far away from here. Gu Qingshan immediately began to think of a way to save her. From this moment on, he gave up on all of his previous plans and plans. Whatever secrets and problems the ship had, they weren't important anymore. The most important thing right now was to save her. Right now, the ship was heading towards Greyhound Black Market, but due to the occasional appearance of void monsters in the void of space, out of caution and habit, the ship's speed wasn't too fast. "I need to make the ship move at full speed." After making up his mind, Gu Qingshan quickly left the personal cabin. He could already tell that the captain had an extreme desire for money. "If I take out all of Wang Cheng's money, I should be able to solve this problem. All I have to do is make the ship move a bit faster." Gu Qingshan quickly walked toward the captain's cabin. At a certain point, all of a sudden, he stood still. His surroundings were a bit strange. Gu Qingshan tapped his inventory bag and summoned the Shun Wei general armor, quickly donning it. He grabbed it with his hand. The Six Paths great mountain sword appeared in his hand. "Come out," Gu Qingshan shouted. No one answered him. The entire ship was silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight and scanned the entire ship. No one. Chapter 747. Gu Qingshan looked around. There was no sound of talking or any other movement inside the ship. It was as if the crew members had evaporated. Even the corpse of the first mate that was hanging upside down in the public area was gone. Through the cabin window, he could see some small monsters hurriedly flying past in the void turbulence outside. But there wasn't a single sign of life inside the ship. The entire ship was silent. Gu Qingshan put on the golden mask and walked towards the captain's room with his sword in hand. He kicked open the door of the captain's room. There was no one inside. Gu Qingshan stayed silent for a bit, then turned around and walked into the ship's control room. Regardless of what happened, he didn't care at all. The only thing he cared about was getting to the black market as soon as possible to save people. The door of the ship's control room was tightly shut. Gu Qingshan didn't even bother to look and walked straight ahead. The Chaoyin sword appeared from the void of space and flew straight towards the door of the control room. The sword stabbed forward. Secret art, water flow severance. Boom! The entire metal door was blown to smithereens. As Gu Qingshan walked in, he looked at the numerous control devices inside the control room. Although Wang Cheng had quite a bit of experience living on a ship, he didn't know how to pilot a ship. Gu Qingshan didn't hesitate for too long. He lightly touched the control panel and walked from one end to the other. On the War God UI, lines of glowing text were scrolling across the screen. You've contacted the Fuji-type medium-sized transport ship's main control panel. You've contacted the direction control panel. You've contacted the speed control panel. You've contacted the stealth control panel. You've contacted the combustion control panel. You've contacted the void radar. You've contacted the fire control panel. The above ship control devices have performed the following skills: Fuji-type medium-sized transport ship's direction control, flight control, stealth control, acceleration and deceleration, radar detection, fire control. To comprehend all of the control skills requires 1376 soul points. Are you willing to pay? Yes, Gu Qingshan replied. Soul points received, beginning comprehension. The War God system replied. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Gu Qingshan let go of the sword in her hand, walked to the middle of the control panel, and began to operate quickly. First, he threw away the wreckage that the spaceship was dragging. Then he adjusted the flight speed to the maximum and the stealth level to the maximum. This way, the ship would be lighter, but due to the increase in speed, the energy consumption would be very high. Under normal circumstances, the captain would never allow the ship to move like this. But why would Gu Qingshan care about this little bit of energy consumption? The entire ship let out a loud roar and began to accelerate in the void turbulence. Suddenly, a voice rose behind Gu Qingshan. I didn't expect you to know how to pilot a spaceship. It was the captain's voice. At some point in time, he was already standing at the entrance of the control room. Gu Qingshan didn't look back. She just said, I have something urgent. The captain's voice sank. But you're using my ship. I know that. That's why I'll pay. Gu Qingshan took out Wang Cheng's chest of coins and tossed it behind her. Clank! The chest fell between the two of them. The blue coins scattered all over the ground. Looking at the scattered coins on the ground, the captain's eyes flickered. First, he knew how to pilot a spaceship. Then he tossed out an entire chest of coins. Wang Cheng's actions were completely out of his expectations. Why are you using my spaceship? The captain probed. To quickly reach the black market. And then? What do you want to do? That's my personal business. There's nothing to say. Gu Qingshan didn't turn around and continued to pilot the ship as she spoke. He was using the wind sensor to capture the intense wind in the void of space, searching for a way to accelerate the ship. Yunji's life is in danger. I can't waste any more time. I have to get there right away. The captain looked at the chest of coins on the ground, then at Wang Cheng's back. Wang Cheng, I still underestimated you. While saying so, he silently raised his hand and aimed at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan scowled. This idiot, still trying to cause trouble at such a crucial moment. He released his inner sight, passing through the ship's barrier and randomly found a useless broken wooden stick in the space vortex. Divine skill, shadow shift. Gu Shan switched places with a broken wooden stick. He appeared in the space vortex, while the broken wooden stick appeared in front of the control panel. At the very next moment, shadow shift was activated again. Gu Shan switched places with the captain. He reappeared in the cabin of the ship, while the captain was thrown into the space vortex. Gu Shan's figure flashed and appeared in front of the control panel again. At this point, the broken wooden stick had just fallen to the ground. In less than a breath's worth of time, the strongest person on the ship, the captain, was thrown out of the ship just like that. Gu Shan continued to pilot the ship forward. His attention wasn't diverted at all, only focused on piloting the ship to reach the black market as soon as possible. A few dozen seconds later, a panting voice came from the door of the control room. "Wang Chung, who exactly are you?" the captain angrily shouted. "Don't care who I am. Don't be a busybody. Don't piss me off." Gu Shan looked down at the ship and casually replied. The captain paused briefly before laughing maniacally. "Aha, you definitely aren't Wang Chung." "I knew it. How could Wang Chung summon a devil king?" he muttered. To have such a miraculous spatial technique, he must have done quite a few big things in the past. For an expert like you to compromise so much, you must be trying to hide from something. I'm guessing you're the same as me. You're either a wanted criminal that needs to hide your identity, or you just done a big job and want to hide for a while. That's why you're hiding on my ship, as the captain slowly spoke. His eyes had already changed. He appeared a bit excited and began to move his fingers. "You really are impressive. Unfortunately, you're on my ship, and we're currently in the space vortex, which means everything you have will be mine in the end." He put his hand on the door and abruptly disappeared. The ship abruptly broke free from Gu Shan's control. The entire ship visibly slowed down, then completely shut down and began to glide through the void of space. At the same time, the crew members came out from the metal wall one by one. Their expressions were cold, their bodies stiff, almost like zombies from apocalyptic novels. "Why do you have to go so far?" Gu Shan shook her head and sighed. The Chao Yin sword flew out and slashed at the crew members several dozen meters away. Clang, 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 clang. Sparks of lightning flew everywhere. The crew members were pushed back a bit. Only a few sharp scratches were left on their bodies, but they weren't under severance as control. Their movements weren't affected too much either. If only one of them was like the second mate from before, it would have been fine. But now, no one was affected by severance. This caused Gu Shan to be surprised. The captain's voice was fierce and excited. "If this was a different situation, I might consider your suggestion, but this ship is my turf, my world. I'm going to eat you alive. Come, fake Wang Chung. Don't you have a very powerful devil? I know you devil summoners very well. I know all the summoning steps. I guarantee that you won't even have a chance to summon it." While they were talking, the crew members all rushed forward. They surrounded Gu Shan and began to attack. Gu Shan's eyes became sharp. "Sha!" The Six Paths' great mountain sword attacked. A large white crescent sword phantom drew a beautiful arc in the air. All the crew members were cut to pieces by the crescent slash. The intense sword-infused wind blew the severed limbs away, hitting the metal wall with a series of dull thuds. The corpses all fell to the ground without a single trace of blood. Very quickly, the corpses were gone. What was scattered on the ground were various pieces of defensive equipment and armor. Gu Shan stared at the broken equipment on the ground and realized. No wonder Severance wasn't able to stop them. They were originally pieces of defensive equipment. The captain went silent briefly, then suddenly laughed. "Not bad, but how long can you keep fighting like this?" The pieces of defensive equipment slowly sank into the floor of the ship and disappeared. A short breath's worth of time later, more crew members appeared. This time, their eyes were a lot sharper, their movements more flexible. "There's no end to my people. They'll only get stronger and stronger." The captain laughed. Gu Shan didn't pay any attention to the captain's mocking laughter. His hand was still on the control panel of the ship, staring closely at the void of space in front of him. Lines of glowing text were quickly appearing. Item discovered, airship puppet. This item has been used with the following spells: Metal Fusion, Advanced, Soul Puppet Manipulation, Intermediate. Metal Fusion, Advanced, you can fuse yourself with metal-type creations or use your will to control metal. Soul Puppet Manipulation. Intermediate, you can use the power of your soul to control your combat puppets. As your soul has been released, you can directly learn these two spells. After learning these two spells, you can become a metal puppeteer. Gu Qingshan was surprised. He suddenly understood. So the captain was a metal puppeteer. The previous second mate and the current crew members were all puppets he controlled to create from non-living objects and defensive equipment. Not only that, even the entire ship had fused with him. This probably took a lot of effort. If I didn't know that the captain had fused with the entire ship and was still blindly fighting against the puppets on the ship, the situation would only get worse. No wonder the captain was so confident that he could win against me. But now, Gu Qingshan wielded the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword and infused it with spirit energy. Blue-white sword phantoms that gave off a sizzling sound of blue lightning erupted from the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. The captain laughed triumphantly. "Aha, what are you doing? Are you trying to hit me?" "Unfortunately, you won't be able to find me." Gu Qingshan didn't say a word and stabbed the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword into the ship. The entire spaceship trembled for a moment. Normally, due to the need to travel through the void, ships were usually very sturdy. But now that the ship had fused with the captain, its defensive capabilities were greatly boosted. Unfortunately, this sword can cut through laws. Both metal fusion and puppeteering techniques couldn't do anything to the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. So this strike had already wounded the other party. Gu Qingshan drew her sword. The ship shook again. The captain tried to calm himself down. "Humph, you can't find me, so you recklessly attacked the ship. What an idiot." Gu Qingshan said nothing and infused her spirit energy again. An even more intense sword phantom than before was attached to the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. The captain's voice came again. This time he spoke a lot faster. "Oi, we're fighting, but this ship is only a flying vehicle. I think we shouldn't." Dash before he finished, Gu Qingshan once again stabbed the sword into the ship's hull. The ship shook intensely, as if it was going to collapse at any second. The crew members also lost control of themselves and fell to the ground. A faint howl of pain could be heard coming from deep inside the ship. Gu Qingshan smiled faintly and said, "You say you don't want it, but your body is quite honest." Chapter 748. The arcs of lightning coiled around the autumn water clear sword. Gu Qingshan raised the sword and prepared to stab. The entire ship suddenly shook. All the instruments on the ship's control panel returned to normal. The ship began to accelerate again. There could only be a single reason for this to happen. The captain no longer dared to endure that vicious attack and gave up on fusing with the ship. He retreated. Gu Qingshan let the sword hover in the air on its own. He turned around and quickly adjusted the instruments on the control panel to help the ship speed up. Very quickly, the ship reached its maximum speed. At this speed, the ship would reach Greyhound Black Market in another 6 to 7 minutes. A few moments later, at the door of the control room, the captain's figure slowly appeared. There were faint traces of blood soaking through his clothes. His forehead was covered in cold sweat, looking extremely pitiful. "You detestable bastard. How did you notice me?" The captain spat out some blood and begrudgingly asked. Gu Qingshan reached her finger out and lightly flicked the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. Receiving the order, the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword flew out of the control room and disappeared. It was now that Gu Qingshan spoke. "I'm a veteran who's wandered the infinite worlds for many years. I could tell at a glance that you're a metal puppeteer," the captain angrily shouted. "Bullshit. I'm the first person to fuse metal fusion and soul puppeteer together. When have you ever seen me?" Gu Qingshan froze. So he's a founder. No wonder the profession office's profession encyclopedia is constantly adding new professions every year. So in the strife zones, even an old man who collects garbage can create a completely new profession. Gu Qingshan silently thought, then suddenly felt a bit of admiration. "All right, let's stop here. I've already paid for the ship's use. I'll leave as soon as we reach the black market. From now on, we don't owe each other anything, nor do we have any grudges to speak of, Gu Qingshan said. The captain went silent. This person is too strange. He's clearly very weak, not a match for me at all. But he's able to see through my skills. Wait a minute. Perhaps he only knew how to see through skills, but his actual combat strength wasn't that strong? Come to think of it, it was because of his carelessness that he suffered a small loss. Damn it, this person must have a secret. Should he take a gamble or not? The captain hesitated, and his gaze suddenly fell on the ground. It was the money box that Gu Qingshan had thrown out. A chest full of number 7 coins. That's right, this person casually threw out a chest full of coins. What kind of person doesn't care about money? Gu Qingshan didn't turn around, but she used her spiritual telekinesis to observe his expression. Noticing the captain's gaze and expression, he had a slight understanding of the other party's thoughts. Gu Qingshan sighed inwardly. While piloting the ship, he replied, "It's fine to tell you, I've only just arrived at the strife zone, so I wanted to go to the black market to find a friend. So I don't have much money." The speed of the spaceship was very fast, and it was gradually approaching the black market. "Newbie? You said you're a newcomer?" The corner of the captain's mouth curled up as he said mockingly, "A newbie can see through my true profession that I've been hiding for so many years. How can newbie not care about a chest full of coins?" The captain's voice became hoarse, full of emotions. Only people of my age would understand a certain thing. That is, in a person's life, as long as they could be a bit more open-minded, there won't be a lot of things in this world that are worth caring about. Who would have thought that you were such an open-minded person? Gu Qingshan praised him. He glanced at the spatial coordinate map. Almost there. Almost there. Stalling for a bit longer isn't a bad idea. The captain shook his head and continued. There's an important prerequisite to this. That is, you have to have enough money. As long as you have money, everything else is trivial. You can ignore it. I take back my praise, Gu Qingshan said. The captain had been preparing for a long time, silently completing a certain spell. He smirked and said, "The fact that you can ignore this chest full of money is definitely because you've seen more money than you've ever seen. And you have more wealth, did you know? Just now, when you threw out that chest, the look of indifference on your face reminded me of the richest people in the world. You're completely mistaken this time. That's not the case at all." Gu Qingshan flatly denied it. "Stop acting. The way you act is exactly the same as the legendary Bramblebirds." The captain exposed her. "Perhaps. I picked up a few bad habits, but I really don't have much money," Gu Qingshan tried to explain. "Only corpses don't lie," the captain shouted. His spell was finally complete. Boom! The entire ship broke apart. Gu Qingshan was thrown into the space vortex. Behind him, the spaceship was pieced together once again, forming a giant that was completely molded from metal. This metal giant looked exactly the same as the captain. It opened its mouth and spoke full of killing intent. "You are the first person weaker than me to be able to hurt me. Your wisdom and means are worthy of me facing you in my toughest form. Come, let this old man have a good fight. This will be the fiercest showdown of our lives. One of us will die. Only the last one standing will be able to obtain everything." The giant stood in the void of space, roaring with fighting spirit. He was ready to fight to the death. But the person who impersonated Wang Chung didn't pay any attention to him. He was holding a piece of black cloth in his hand, looking at it and muttering to himself, "Not far. I hope I can make it in time." The giant stopped. "Didn't you hear what I said just now?" The giant angrily questioned her. Gu Qingshan didn't pay any attention to him, turned around, and flew towards the black market. Like a streak of light, he flew through the space vortex at an extremely fast speed. And then, he flew away. He really did fly away. The giant froze in place. "You bastard!" The giant roared. He turned back into a ship, exerting the most amount of energy to increase his speed to the limit. "Embark! Damn brat, I'm going to cut you to pieces." The ship quickly chased after Gu Qingshan. Although this was only a medium-sized ship used to tow debris, it was still a product of the strife zones, having gone through countless technological modifications. It was now a ship with a powerful mobility system. Not to mention, it was also buffed by the captain's metal fusion and puppet manipulation. With its speed, it could easily catch up to Guqin Shan. The ship was moving forward at full speed. About a minute later, the captain had already noticed the brat's figure in the space vortex. He was about to catch up. The captain was gritting his teeth so hard that they were about to break. He controlled the ship to let out a deafening roar and accelerated again. All of a sudden, a series of alarms sounded from the ship. At the same time, the sound of explosions became weaker and weaker. The ship slowly stopped, while a blue dress girl appeared next to Guqin Shan, just now in the ship's control room. After the captain tried to fuse himself with the ship, Guqin Shan told her to leave first, just for this moment. The blue dress girl tapped her inventory bag and took out a streamlined, small-sized rescue ship. This was the best one on the ship, and it was also fully charged. Shannon told him, "Gongzi, other than this rescue ship, I did as you said and removed most of the ship's energy and threw it all into my inventory bag. Very well done." Guqin Shan boarded the small-sized rescue ship and began to operate its engines. "Bastard! Don't even think about running," the captain angrily shouted. He leapt up from the ship and flew towards them. Guqin Shan quickly activated the small-sized rescue ship and keyed in the coordinates. The small-sized rescue ship let out a loud roar and flew away. Shanu stood still, wielding the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword and Chao Yin sword in hand. She faced the captain. "Didn't you want to fight?" she coldly said. Her swords gave off layers of sword images that enveloped the captain. Boom, boom. After several intense exchanges, the two of them separated. The captain looked at Shanu, then at the small-sized rescue ship that had already disappeared, knowing that he wouldn't be able to catch up this time. He angrily cursed. "Coward, you don't even have the courage to fight me." "Then you're wrong," Shanu coldly replied. "That's how it is. He's already running away, isn't that right?" The captain spoke with a grim expression. "You want to fight, so Gongzi has to fight with you?" "My Gongzi is very busy. He doesn't have time to waste with you." Shanu shook her head and coldly replied, "I'll say something that might hurt your pride. Do you think you're worthy?" As soon as she said so, she disappeared from the captain's sight. Extremely far in front of him, her figure reappeared, then disappeared again. After disappearing 3 times in quick succession, she was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 749. Let's rewind time a bit. When Guqin Shan was still hiding in the wreckage of the ship, only to be summoned by Wang Cheng. On the other side, outside the strife zones, the world of the Spire, an unprecedentedly intense war was coming to an end. Boom! Far away, the spire that connected heaven and earth broke apart. The spire of knowledge of the old gods had been destroyed. A high-pitched female voice resounded across the entire world. "Living beings created by the old gods, you know nothing of despair," a deranged male voice rang out. "Your only value is the nutrients contained in your souls." A high-decibel chant erupted from both the male and female voices at the same time. "Souls, offer your souls to me." Ah! With an ear-piercing scream, the monster stood at the center of the battlefield with its mouth wide open. Everyone who was fighting fell to the ground. Their souls flew out from their bodies and were sucked into the monster's mouth. Countless souls on the battlefield flew towards the monster. Only the people of God Institute weren't afraid of this soul-sucking attack. Other than them, everyone else had fallen into unprecedented despair. The combatants who ruled the 900 million world layers couldn't do anything about it. They abandoned their opponents from God Institute and unleashed their strongest attacks to attack the monster. But their attacks were completely useless. The monster stood there unscathed, continuing its soul-sucking attack. Even quite a few Lord-class combatants couldn't resist this suction force. Quite a few of their souls left their bodies on the spot and were sucked into the monster's mouth. As for those who had the ability to resist, they were also in an unprecedented, desperate situation. With every passing second, their bodies were being destroyed by an invisible force, their souls no longer having anywhere to go. In just a few breaths worth of time, their bodies were destroyed by an invisible force, their souls no longer having anywhere to go. At this point, their souls were no longer able to resist the monster's soul-sucking attack and were directly sucked away and eaten. The number of people still alive on the battlefield was slowly decreasing. The end of the 900 million world layers seemed to be right in front of their eyes. All of a sudden, an ocean-like blue light enveloped the entire battlefield. Under the illumination of this blue light, the souls suddenly regained their freedom. The monster's soul-sucking technique was interrupted. "Who is it? Who dares to interrupt my meal?" The male and female voices angrily shouted at the same time. The people who were still alive on the battlefield let out cries of surprise and joy. "Lady Blacksea, Miss Blacksea, you're here. We're saved. Please lead us into battle." Hearing the voices of the crowd, a sigh echoed in the boundless void. Lady Blacksea's voice resounded in the ears of these lucky survivors. "I will send you into the strife zones. The divine barrier that the 7 gods had set up there will soon be activated. The entire strife zones will be hidden no matter what. Do not leave the strife zones, because within the entire 900 million world layers, the strife zones are the only ones that are safe for now. You have to preserve your strength, survive, and find a way to deal with it." The survivors were bathed in the azure light, and a layer of deep blue ice crystals quickly condensed around their bodies. The layer of ice froze them, and then all the ice crystals rose into the air and disappeared in an instant. The monster silently watched this scene. It tried several times, but found that it was unable to block this divine technique. Only when everything was over did it look towards a certain spot in the void. The monster's female voice chuckled and asked slowly, "Where did these people go?" There was silence all around. No one answered her. But the female voice appeared even more triumphant. "Even I couldn't stop these living beings from escaping. I'm guessing that only divinities would be able to do that. Who would have thought? Other than the 7 demons, there were still divinities that remained here and didn't escape from the 99 billion world layers." The male voice spoke with a frenzied tone. "If you didn't escape, then your fate has already been decided." They roared in unison. "You won't be able to escape. Your fate has already come to an end within the boundless azure light." A woman suddenly let out a sigh. She spoke, "Today I will die, but not by being eaten by you." As she spoke, the entire world began to collapse. At another location, all the remaining soldiers were sealed in a layer of solid azure ice crystals, teleported through countless worlds, and arrived at the strife zones. Like a meteor shower, the ice crystals quickly scattered across the 200 million world layers of the strife zones. The meteor shower ended in an instant. A second later, the figure of light's voice slowly resounded across every world in the strife zones. With a solemn and sacred tone, the figure of light declared, "Announcement. The first follower to light the tree of divinity has been born. The path to godhood has officially opened. The divinity barrier set up by the divinities will be activated. The strife zones will be hidden from the 900 million world layers from now on. Anyone who leaves the strife zones will not be able to enter the strife zones again." Within the 900 million world layers, the entire strife zones slowly disappeared. Everyone could no longer find the 200 million world layers, nor did they have the means to travel between those worlds. At this time in the strife zones, one of the countless azure ice crystals flew through the space vortex and landed in Greyhound World. Around the ice crystal, countless mystical divine runes occasionally manifested. These divine runes would ensure that the ice crystal wouldn't be disturbed or detected by any power. Without a sound, the ice crystal flew through the sky and landed in a secluded desert of Greyhound World. The ice crystal sank into the ground and was completely surrounded by darkness. A while later, a female voice resounded from within the ice crystal. "Blade, blade, Vaong." An invisible ripple spread towards the outside of this world. The dark underground. The female voice coughed intensely, as if chanting that incantation just now had used up all of her power. After a while, she finally managed to speak. "Who is on the other side?" An anxious voice resounded from near the ice crystal. "Is it Yinji, Cloud Maiden of Calamity, Lady Serena?" This was Gu Qingshan's voice. Time quickly passed. Grayon world. Dawn hadn't arrived yet, so this was the darkest moment of the day. Far above the sky, the sound of flapping wings could be heard. A bird flew through the darkness, descending straight down from the sky. This bird didn't give off any powerful presence, so no matter what method they used to sense it, they could only come up with the same conclusion. It was just an ordinary bird. The bird descended like a bolt of lightning, flapping its wings as hard as it could, but it was still speeding up. At a certain point, the bird had already descended from the sky, about to reach the ground. Then it disappeared. A man wearing black armor and a golden mask suddenly appeared. The man hovered in the air, staring down at the vast desert below. He flashed and disappeared from where he stood, traversed a large distance, and landed on the ground. Holding a piece of black cloth in his hand, the man released his inner sight and quickly found the location. He ran forward, slowly crouched down in the middle of a sand dune. He formed a hand seal with one hand. BZZT. His spirit energy manifested as a gust of wind, blowing the sand and pebbles in front of him away. A deep blue ice crystal appeared in front of his eyes. Inside the ice crystal, a beautiful woman covered in blood had her eyes closed, in a deep coma. The injuries on her body were horrifying. She was on the verge of death, and she was practically in a dying state. Chapter 750. Transparent divine runes occasionally appeared around the blue crystal. Inside the crystal, Yunji was in a deep unconscious state, unable to communicate with Gu Qingshan at all. But as soon as Gu Qingshan appeared in front of the crystal, a preset spell was activated. A faint black glow flew out from between Yunji's eyebrows, passed through the blue crystal, and landed in front of Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan thought briefly and caught the black glow. The black glow went into his hand and entered his thought sea through his arm. Yunji's voice resounded in his ears. Gu Qingshan, I'm about to fall unconscious. Before this, I've recorded everything. If you get here, regardless of whether I'm still alive or not, I'll be able to tell you everything. Her voice slowly faded away. A complete image appeared in Gu Qingshan's thought sea. It was what happened after he and Ning Yuechan left the 900 Million World Layers Alliance. She received Yunji's doll and turned into a little girl. From the looks of it, she accepted the suggestion and decided to stay in her own world. After that, Yunji, Chen Wang, and the other lords participated in the top brass meeting of the 900 Million World Layers Alliance. In the meeting, some of them wanted to reinforce the spire, some wanted to observe and send out troops to probe the enemy, and some suggested that they should retreat after probing the enemy based on how strong the machine gun was. After a round of voting, the 900 Million World Layers Alliance sent out a combat squad led by Lady Black Sea. What followed was an intense battle. The battle was completely one-sided. No one could do anything to that God Institute monster. As soon as it began to suck souls, it destroyed the spire and the allied forces like they were nothing. The entire war was coming to an end. Yunji, Chen Wang, and the rest were all on the brink of death, but were saved by Lady Black Sea at the crucial moment. Lady Black Sea stopped the monster's soul-sucking and sent the remaining Lord-class combatants into the strife zones. The image ended here. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes and watched the entire process. At first, when she turned into a little girl, he couldn't help but laugh. But as the image changed to the scene of a war, his mood became heavier and heavier. That monster was too strange. No matter what attack it was, it couldn't do anything to it. Gu Qingshan opened her eyes and fell into thought. Black Sea, don't you die, he murmured softly. After all, according to Shanna's description, this lady told me a few things during the selection process. Perhaps she had some sort of relationship with him? Unfortunately, he had no way to find her now. That level of battle had almost exceeded the scope of Gu Qingshan's understanding. From the last scene, no one could help Ms. Black Sea. Gu Qingshan had no idea what would happen next. But for Gu Qingshan, the most important thing was Shifu had already left the 900 million world layers and returned to the scattered worlds, probably not going to leave for a while. When Gu Shan thought of this, she couldn't help but feel deeply grateful to Yunji. Even Ms. Black Sea wasn't able to stop that monster. Among the combatants of the 900 million World Layers Alliance, although there were a few who were on par with Ms. Black Sea and held the highest positions, they were most likely the same as Ms. Black Sea, unable to stop that monster. After this war, the 900 million World Layers Alliance would most likely have to quickly retreat. Ironically, the originally unsafe scattered worlds were actually safer than the 900 million world layers during this unique period of time. Shifu should be fine. Then, right now, Gu Shan stared at the blue crystal and lightly reached his hand out. He placed his hand on the surface of the crystal. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the War God UI. Item: Divine Power Frost Crystal. Description: This is a law crystal manifested from Divine Power. Doomsday Chronicles. The Divine Power Elemental Crystal is a divine secret art exclusive to the gods. It has appeared several times in history and has protected living beings in times of crisis. To view related events, please pay 1,000 soul points. After that, the lines of glowing text stopped. Following that, all the buttons that were covered by the black hole and the options that were shown on the War God UI turned gray. Only War God skills lit up. It gave off a resplendent and dignified glow as it slowly floated from the bottom of the UI to the center of the War God UI. The cold mechanical voice of the War God UI resounded. Discover divine secret art. Unique choice has been made. The system has inquired, would you like to upgrade War God skills so that it can expand the range of skills to divine rank? Gu Shan immediately replied, of course. The system has accepted your will and is about to upgrade War God skills to facilitate your mastery of divine skills. Now, please prepare 1 million soul points to complete the upgrade of War God skills. 1 million soul points. Gu Shan sighed. I have 73,000 soul points right now. Originally, I was confident that this amount of soul points would be enough to deal with any situation. But who would have thought that I'd need 927,000 soul points to learn a divine rank skill? This is an astronomical number that I've never seen before. However, almost everyone in the strife zones is on the path to godhood. I'm not a believer, so if I have to fight against believers who have already lit their tree of divinity, I'd be at a disadvantage if I don't have a stronger skill. That's why upgrading War God skills is something that I have to do. Other than that, there was also a bit of secret information hidden within this incident. To be able to freeze the remaining lords of the battlefield with divine power on a large scale, Lady Black Sea's identity is as clear as day. She must be a divinity. Even if she's not, she's at least close to it. If she really is a divinity, but she's been hiding within the 900 million World Layers Alliance for so many years. What's her goal? Gu Shan silently thought about it. Fortunately, from the looks of it, she's helping living beings, even saving quite a few combatants in times of crisis. Gu Shan thought for a bit and asked, can I not upgrade it yet? I'll consider this after I've gathered enough soul points. Of course you can. In order to activate War God skills, this upgrade, you must have at least 1 million soul points, as well as have the system notice the existence of a divinity's secret technique. Gu Shan put her hand on the ice again and asked, like this? Correct. The ice contains a divinity's secret technique, so you can trigger the upgrade condition for War God skills. Understood. I'll quickly gather more soul points. Saying so, Gu Shan let go. All the glowing text on the War God UI disappeared. Everything returned to normal. Gu Shan wasn't in a hurry to break the ice, because the divine power inside the ice is what's keeping her alive. If I break the ice but don't have a way to save her life, that would be the same as killing her. Gu Shan carefully observed the ice. The divine power inside was vast and abundant. For the time being, Yunji shouldn't have any major issues. But this situation won't last forever. There would come a day when the divine power will be used up. At that time, Yunji will die without a doubt. Gu Shan scowled deeply. Yunji was a true Lord-class combatant, a famous VIP even within the 900 million world layers. She was currently on the verge of death. Chapter 751. Guqing Shan stood still and stayed silent for a bit. He formed a hand seal and gathered the yellow sand around him, covering the divine frost crystals again. Then he tapped his inventory bag and took out a formation plate. Guqing Shan quickly tapped the formation plate with both hands. Very quickly, a few rays of light came out from the formation plate. With the divine frost crystal as the center, various large-scale concealment formations were activated. Guqing Shan thought for a bit and arranged another small-scale warp formation. This way, he would be able to return to this place from another place in this world. After that, he put the formation plate away. All right, although these formations aren't very useful, there are at least 17 different concealment formations that can hide the divine crystal for a bit. Now, I need to think of a way to cure Yunji. According to Wang Cheng's memories, this place was Greyhan World, the 11th largest black market in the strife zones. Although Wang Cheng spent half of his life on a ship, so he didn't know much and didn't want to spend any money, he at least knew how prosperous the black market was, as well as the various strange and wondrous things that could be found there. The 200 million world layers of strife zones had given birth to countless civilizations, countless combatants, as well as abundant resources and treasures. And a place like the black market didn't accept taxes from any country or civilization. All transactions here were protected by the black market's owner. Usually, the black market's owners were very smart, so they only took a small fee for their services. That's why visitors from different worlds who were tempted by the profits would naturally come here. There might even be some information and knowledge in the black market that could help Guqing Shan understand how to cure a Lord-class combatant. So the best choice right now was to take a look at the black market. Since Guqing Shan had made up his mind, he didn't hesitate anymore. He took out a pill and put it in his mouth. This world was so vast that even with his tribulation middle stage cultivation, he would need to travel a long distance to reach the black market. Everything was ready. Guqing Shan leapt into the sky, turned into a streak of light, and flew away. Greyhan World. In the sky, a sandstorm was blowing everywhere. The entire world seemed to be stuck in the quicksand. Occasionally, there would be some extremely rare areas, but due to the existence of certain mysterious forces, the sandstorms would be able to bypass them. After flying for a day and night, Guqing Shan finally felt a little tired. At this time, the sun was shining brightly. The hottest time of the day had arrived. It was already noon. Above the boundless sandstorm, 7 suns lined up in a row, emitting intense heat. All things were scorched. If she didn't use her spiritual power to protect herself, Guqing Shan felt that she would have been roasted long ago. As far as Wang Cheng knew, this was a world that had almost been destroyed. Unfortunately, Wang Cheng's strength was low, and his status was low. He did not know the ins and outs of the entire matter. Guqing Shan felt slightly regretful. There was too little information, and it was not conducive to the subsequent strategic arrangements. He sensed the rate at which his spirit energy was being consumed, then looked down at the ground. The surging sea of sand covered the sky, blocking one's line of sight. Nothing could be seen clearly. As a last resort, he released his divine telekinesis to carefully observe the world beneath the sandstorm. Underneath the sandstorm, there was still sandstorm. After a while, Guqing Shan finally found a place where he could temporarily rest. Underneath the endless sandstorm, in the middle of the vast desert, there was a small place full of life. It was a large, lush tree. This tree peeked out from behind the sand dune, giving off a faint green light that dispersed the sandstorm around it. Because of the faint green light, the area around the tree had become a quiet and small world full of life. Without hesitation, Guqing Shan flew down. After flying through the sandstorm for so long, his stamina was a bit worn out, so he needed to rest and eat something. Landing in front of the tree, he released his divine telekinesis to carefully observe his surroundings. There was nothing around. Guqing Shan walked up to the tree, solemnly bowed, and said, "I mean no harm. I'm just tired from flying, so I came here to rest for a bit." He tapped his inventory bag, took out a gourd of spirit spring water, and poured it on the tree's branch. This was something that Guqing Shan came up with himself. In the middle of the desert, this kind of spring water that contained spirit energy should be very rare. If this tree had life and intelligence, this kind of spring water should be enough to satisfy it. Gu Qingshan received Wang Cheng's memories. Although Wang Cheng was only a low-level trash collector, he understood very well that there were too many unimaginable life forms in the strife zones. Gu Qingshan tried to follow this train of thought. From now on, I still have a long journey in the strife zones. If I end up in an unfamiliar place, I'll definitely draw the attention of the local species. In such a situation, the best way to deal with it is to express my will and attitude in advance. Even in the most desolate of environments, kindness and avoidance have always been one of the most basic rules of survival. The other, more intense way to survive would naturally be to fight. But after going through what happened with the figure of light, Gu Qingshan felt that she definitely shouldn't underestimate the intelligence of any living being. Because the figure of light appeared among the billions of living beings, even the void monsters were notified by the figure of light. This proved a certain thing. The seven gods believed that all living beings in the strife zones had intelligence and could walk on the path of godhood. This seemed to imply that all living beings were equal. Because of that, if all living beings were treated as equal intelligent beings, then they would naturally express their attitude when entering someone else's territory. No one would welcome a stranger of unknown origin into their home. But if the stranger expressed his goodwill, then that would be a completely different matter. Under such circumstances, as long as the other party wasn't too cruel, they wouldn't directly kill anyone. This was the first opinion that Gu Qingshan had about the strife zones. Because of that, Gu Qingshan immediately expressed her attitude as soon as she arrived and even gave the tree a drop of spirit spring water. The spirit spring water was poured onto the tree and was quickly absorbed by it. All of a sudden, a buzzing voice came from inside the tree. It's been a long time since I've had such a sweet and refreshing spring water. If possible, please give me a bit more. Thank you. Gu Qingshan looked at the tree in surprise. He then took out another gourd of spirit spring water and poured it on the tree. All of the spring water was immediately absorbed cleanly. The tree sighed in satisfaction. It continued, "Traveler from a long journey, your spring water has made me happy. You may rest here." The meaning was clear. You're not allowed to rest here before this. Gu Qingshan immediately understood. Seems like I didn't do anything wrong. He clasped his fist and said, "Thank you. You're welcome. If it's possible, please give me another gourd," the tree said. It seemed a little embarrassed by its request. "My child is coming back soon, and I forgot to leave some for him. He might like this spring water." Gu Qingshan smiled. "This is a world of drifting sand. I haven't seen any water sources even after flying for so long. I heard that this world almost got destroyed. No wonder spring water is so popular. It's just spring water. I have plenty of it." Gu Qingshan took out another gourd of spring water and put it next to the tree. "For you," he said. The sand and stones on the ground opened up a hole that swallowed the gourd. "Ah, thank you very much," the tree happily said. "No need to be so polite. Since I wanted to borrow your precious place to rest, I naturally brought a small gift for you." Gu Qingshan waved his hand dismissively. The tree continued, "I'm not one of those ill-mannered bandits in human form, so I have a small gift for you as well. It's nothing good. I hope you won't mind." A jet-black branch on the tree snapped off and fell next to Gu Qingshan. "Please take it. It's a small token of my appreciation," the tree said. Gu Qingshan looked at the branch. What use would something like that be? But he couldn't refuse either. Otherwise, wouldn't he be making things difficult for the other party? "Thank you, Your Excellency," he thanked it. The tree replied. There was no need to say anything else after that. Gu Qingshan casually formed a hand seal to take the branch from afar and put it into his inventory bag. He then took out a cushion, sat on it, drank some food, and began to rest. Time quickly passed. 2 hours later, when Gu Qingshan opened his eyes, he was in high spirits. He suddenly noticed a palm-sized black scorpion on the sand in front of him. The scorpion seemed to be curiously observing him. When Gu Qingshan opened his eyes, the scorpion was startled. The scorpion quickly hid under the sand, disappearing without a trace. Gu Qingshan didn't mind, smiled, and was about to leave. "Farewell, Your Excellency," he said to the tree. "Where are you going?" the tree curiously asked. "I'm going to the black market. I've never been there before, so I'm going to take a look," Gu Shan answered. "Ah, why are you going there?" the tree continued to ask. "I want to learn a bit of healing knowledge and skills, because my friend is very heavily wounded and I don't know what to do about it," Gu Shan casually answered. "Healing, of course," the tree sighed. "I don't know what to do about healing either, your good little one. Go now, farewell." Gu Shan clasped his fist. "See," the tree said. Gu Shan leapt to the sky and flew away. He left the windless sandstorm that the tree was in. Immediately, an endless sandstorm came towards him. In a split second, he noticed that over a dozen people had appeared next to him. As soon as Gu Shan saw them, they also saw him. Coincidentally, both of them were heading in the same direction. Seems like they're both heading to the black market. Gu Shan thought for a bit, then silently stepped aside so that they could get there first. Firstly, there were too many of them. Secondly, he didn't want to run into them and cause trouble. Thirdly, Yinji was still heavily wounded, so he needed to focus on his own matters and think of a way to save her. Seeing him do that, the group of people appeared pleased. They exchanged glances. One of them raised his hand and pointed it at Gu Shan. He was wearing something that looked like a watch-like device. Looking at the watch, he reported a number to his companions. As soon as they heard that number, they all calmed down. The leader thought for a bit, then gestured to the group. At the same time, a sense of danger appeared in Gu Shan's mind. Gu Shan suddenly understood. A karmic adversity. Damn it, the second karmic adversity had already arrived. It had been hiding until now. When it was about to disperse, it suddenly attacked. Without any warning, boom. Gu Shan managed to dodge 7 to 8 attacks, but was struck by the last attack and was sent flying backwards. Like a parabola, Gu Shan flew straight back to the tree. Bam! As he crashed into the ground, the impact kicked up a huge wave of sand. Even the black soil that was hidden under the sea of sand could be vaguely seen in front of him. Gu Shan shook his head and flew up. This was an unplanned, coincidental encounter, as well as a last-minute killing intent. Fortunately, with the Shinwei armor, he wasn't hurt at all, but there was a small crack on the armor. Gu Shan jumped up high and drew the night rain. The group of people had already arrived. They stopped in midair, laughing as they looked at Gu Shan. "Brother Ji, this person is an archer. His battle value is too low. There's probably nothing to be gained," one of them smiled and said. "No matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat, since we've met. Let's just kill him." The man called Brother Ji didn't mind at all. A burly man said, "He's an archer. I can easily kill a bunch of weaklings like him." Gu Shan understood what they meant. He didn't care about anything else. Killing people. At this point, another short man drew his dagger and said, "Whoever killed him will be the first to loot." Dash bam. Before he could finish, Gu Shan shot him in the head with an arrow. Blood splattered all over the place. Everyone's expression changed. "Bastard, seems like he really does know a thing or two about archery. Let's go," Brother Ji shouted. The men all took out their weapons and charged at Gu Shan. While retreating, Gu Shan drew another arrow. Sha! Shifting flurry, activate. 5 arrows turned into blurred images as they shot into the crowd, killing 2 more people in an instant. Brother Ji was extremely annoyed. This time, it was because he trusted the machine too much that he counterattacked. Damn it, his archery skills are even better than the machine's calculations. We need to get close now. Unfortunately, everyone understood that, but Gu Shan's ground shrink was too fast. These people couldn't catch up at all. 1 breath's worth of time. Another person was shot in the arm by Gu Shan. This person was the burly man from before. He angrily drew the arrow in his arm and shouted to the people around him, "All of you come here." When the people heard his roar, they immediately moved closer to him. The burly man gritted his teeth, glared at Gu Shan, then told everyone, "This person's life and belongings are mine." Got it. Everyone nodded. The burly man rubbed the ring on his finger and activated the technique on it. Chaotic shift. Chaotic shift, a spatial technique, a divine skill. He immediately led his companions within a 10-meter radius around him through the barrier of space, appearing directly around the enemy within a kilometer radius, then forming an encirclement. Instantly, the ring gave off a blinding white light. Everyone disappeared. They reappeared around Gu Qingshan, completely surrounding Gu Qingshan. For an archer, their encirclement was perfect. A ranged profession wouldn't be able to escape from such an encirclement. Brat, the burly man, smirked. Archery is a sissy's game. You won't be able to escape now. Gu Qingshan had a strange expression on his face. He also didn't say anything. Both the bow and the arrows suddenly disappeared. A cold gleam sliced through the sky, manifesting a blinding crescent sword dance. Secret art, life seeker. Thaumaturgy, severance. Secret art, crescent slash, full crescent slash. Everyone froze in place, allowing the sword phantoms to slice them into pieces. Their corpses were blown away by the intense wind. Gu Qingshan slowly put his sword away. Looking at the blood on the sand, he shook his head and sighed. Chapter 752. The sword-infused wind howled. Severed limbs were constantly being blown away by the yellow sand. Gu Qingshan put his sword away and turned to the tree that gave off a green aura. "I'm sorry, I dirtied your place," the tree replied. It's fine, it's nothing." Gu Qingshan smiled. "Then I'll be going, See you again. You can come back to play when you have time, all right. See you again." Gu Qingshan once again took flight. After confirming the direction, he headed towards the black market. This time, he didn't run into anyone else. Soon enough, he flew out of the peaceful area covered by the tree and disappeared into the raging sandstorm. After he left, a small black scorpion jumped out from the sand and squeaked at the tree in front of him. This was the little scorpion that was secretly observing Gu Qingshan when he was resting. The tree nimbly swayed left and right a few times before denying it. "Forget it," the little scorpion continued to squeak in confusion. The tree replied, Because he's very polite. I like polite people," the little scorpion squeaked in dissatisfaction. The tree patiently explained, "Not only that, this is the first time I've seen a human who can play two professions so well. Such a person is very rare. He must have some sort of shocking secret on him. So it's best if we don't go looking for trouble." While they were talking, a pile of corpses silently appeared from the sand. They were the dozen people that Gu Qingshan killed just now. Other than the corpses, there was also a gourd of spirit spring water. "This should be enough for dinner, and there's also a gourd of spirit water he gave us. What do you think?" the tree asked. The little scorpion looked at the corpses, then at the gourd of spirit spring water, still a bit unwilling. It continued to squawk at the big tree. The tree sighed and said, "Do you really want to eat something fresh that much?" All of a sudden, a glowing red machine fell out from one of the corpses. The machine let out a rapid beep 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 sound. The tree's voice was cut off. Both it and the little scorpion were attracted by the machine. The little scorpion listened for a while, then squeaked doubtfully at the tree. Don't ask. I don't know anything about technology. If you're good with your studies, you can study it." The tree sounded annoyed. The flashing red machine suddenly stopped. Soon, dozens of black dots appeared in the distant sky. These black dots flew at an extremely fast speed and landed in front of the corpses. "Boss, we found the place. It's a pity that little Ji and the others have been killed," someone reported. "At first, I thought there was a problem with the life monitor. Now, it seems that someone really dared to kill our people," Boss said with a gloomy face. The group of people exuded a thick, baleful aura. They were eager to find the person who dared to oppose them. "Ninth, go and have a look," Boss ordered. "Yes." Among the group of people, a short fellow walked forward and pulled out another miniature machine from the corpse. He didn't know how he did it, but the miniature machine was activated. Everything that had happened just now turned into a clear image in front of everyone. From a moment they met until the very end, when Gu Qingshan killed all of them with a single slash. Everyone silently watched the entire process. "Bastard, even though we haven't been in Greyhound World for very long, we can't be bullied by this kind of trash," someone angrily shouted. That's right, that's right. If people knew that we've only been here for 2 days and already lost over a dozen people, wouldn't we become the laughingstock of those organizations? That's right. Seeing that everyone was agreeing with him, the boss nodded. He said, "That brat's target is the black market. We'll catch up and kill him in a bit. His swordsmanship is a bit strange. Everyone be careful. Now, gather the corpses and prepare to leave." Yes, everyone loudly responded. They quickly gathered the corpses of their comrades. As the little black scorpion saw them gathering the corpses, it couldn't take it anymore. "These are all its food." The little black scorpion rushed forward and started squeaking at them. As soon as it appeared, it attracted the attention of those people. It's very normal for a sand scorpion to appear in a desert. That's why no one paid attention to it at first. But now this little thing dared to stop them from gathering the corpses. From the looks of it, it's treating these corpses as its dinner. Bastard, the person closest to it stepped forward, wanting to stomp it to death. As soon as he did, he fell to the ground. What's going on? The others cautiously looked over. They noticed that their comrade was already dead. Enemy attack. The ones who reacted quickly called out. Over a dozen people took out their weapons and prepared for battle. They carefully observed their surroundings. Then they all fell to the ground. They're all dead. From the void of space, a lush green glow slowly appeared. The faint green glow came from the dozens of fresh corpses and landed on the tree again. The tree looked even more verdant than before. Seeing how these people couldn't take their food away and instead became fresh food, the little black scorpion happily jumped up and down. It squeaked excitedly at the tree. The tree spoke with a booming voice. "That's right. Dinner was very sumptuous. There's enough food for tomorrow as well. Are you satisfied now, my son?" The little scorpion nodded. "That's good," the tree happily replied. Following its words, all the corpses fell into the quicksand and disappeared without a trace. The desert began to tremble intensely. The quicksand scattered in every direction. A patch of black soil about the size of a medium-sized city rose up, revealing its outline. This black soil? No, this wasn't soil. This was highly solid black chitin skin. Natural evil patterns crawled all over this seemingly boundless hard skin. Through these naturally formed patterns, the monstrous and ferocious aura was completely hidden. Not even a trace of it leaked out. After a few more breaths, its figure finally emerged from the quicksand. This was a black scorpion the size of a city. Its entire body was jet black, a terrifying and unbelievable sight. Although it lay there quietly and didn't move much, anyone who saw it would feel their heart skip a beat. This was a living being's fear towards the omen of death, an innate fear that couldn't be avoided. The only part of the scorpion that wasn't completely black was a faint green glow. The verdant tree that was full of vitality and could resist the endless sandstorm. This tree wasn't a tree. It was the scorpion's fatal stinger. In the entire drifting sand world, there might not be a weapon more deadly than this stinger. "Let's go home. We've had enough fun. Don't let mommy wait too long," the giant scorpion spoke in a booming voice. This voice was the same one that the tree from before made. The little scorpion squeaked a few times, as if asking for something. "All right, you glutton. I'll give you a snack first," the giant scorpion smiled and said. A corpse suddenly appeared on its back. The little scorpion carefully looked at it. It was the person who wanted to step on it before. The little scorpion happily climbed onto the corpse's face. It began to eat. The city-sized black scorpion began to move slowly in the desert. "The person who just left, do you still want to eat him?" A giant scorpion asked. The little scorpion was busy eating, so it quickly raised its stinger and pointed at the food in front of it. That's right. These impolite people can be eaten as they please, because other than food, they have no other use," the giant scorpion said in satisfaction. "Squeak, squeak." The little scorpion doubtfully looked up and asked. The giant scorpion solemnly taught its bloodline. Manners are important because within the infinite worlds, it represents respect towards the unknown, as well as a person's demeanor during the apocalypse. So you need to be a polite little fellow as well. Only then will you appear to have been brought up properly. Squeak, the little scorpion responded without fully understanding. They slowly moved away. On the other side, Gu Shan was flying in the air when she suddenly hurriedly landed. He didn't even mind spending a large amount of spirit stones to arrange layers upon layers of defensive formations, alarm formations, concealment formations, counterattack formations, and spirit-gathering formations. This was quite a large sum of money. But Gu Shan had to spend these spirit stones. Because his spirit energy had entered an uncontrollable state, he had to use formations to warn and protect himself. This meant one thing. Without any warning, the second karmic adversity had ended. Chapter 753. Gu Shan sat on the cushion, focusing all his efforts on stabilizing his cultivation. After passing a karmic adversity, one's cultivation would increase accordingly. This was truly a miraculous period of a cultivator's life. His spirit energy surged like a tidal wave, surging from every part of his body. Gu Shan had to come up with a way to stabilize and calm this huge surge of spirit energy. Otherwise, the excessive spirit energy would damage his meridians. He focused all of his efforts on guiding the spirit energy inside his body into his dantian, forming a spirit energy vortex that gradually slowed down. This was a meticulous process that would greatly reduce the damage that the rampaging spirit energy would cause to the body. One day and one night passed. Gu Shan finally opened his eyes. He was now a Tribulation Realm late-stage cultivator. This time, because he didn't only train his swordsmanship, but also martial arts, archery, blade skills, and so on, his body became stronger in every aspect. This was an unexpected surprise. Gu Shan's attention was drawn by a flash of light in front of him. A notification was flashing below the War God UI. It was War God title. Gu Shan was a bit surprised and couldn't help but click on it. Lines of glowing text began to appear on the War God title tab. You've reached the minimum cultivation requirement to activate a new title as you become the Shunwei General of the cultivation world, and your cultivation has reached Tribulation Realm late stage. Your title, UG General, has been overwritten. You may now use your new title. Shunwei General title. Shunwei General. Note: UG General and Shaoqi Chaplain titles have both been overwritten. Description: this is the #1 general rank within the Human Allied Army. Equipping this title grants you the unique skill, Quick Attack Advanced. Quick Attack Advanced, the user's attack speed is increased by 20%. Gu Shan looked at the new title in surprise, then slowly smiled. The UG General title grants him a 15% increase in attack speed, while the Shunwei General title directly grants 20%. That's 20%. His swordsmanship has always relied on speed to win. Now that he has a 20% increase in attack speed, for a sword cultivator, this is like adding wings to a tiger. No, it's not just swordsmanship. Martial arts, blade skills, and archery will all be increased. That was terrifying. Gu Shan changed the title to Shunwei General, took out the Chaoyin sword, and began to use the sword seal. He brandished his sword. A cold light flashed. Gu Shan raised her eyebrows in surprise. He found that his speed had obviously increased, so much so that he was unable to control his sword momentum. This speed was a little too much. Gu Shan thought about it carefully and finally nodded. As a sword cultivator, not being able to control his own blade was a very dangerous thing. Gu Shan immediately corrected her attitude. He stood up and began to slowly swing his sword, starting from the most basic sword techniques, followed by a series of sword techniques, then secret arts, and finally sword arrays. From the beginning to the end, Gu Shan adapted to the change in speed bit by bit. After practicing for a full 4 hours, he gradually grasped the speed of his sword that was enhanced by the title of Shunwei General. Putting the Chaoyin sword away, he once again sat down on the cushion to rest. It was only now that he had the time to carefully think about this karmic adversity. But the more he thought about it, the more Gu Shan couldn't understand it. Strange, how could a karmic adversity be passed so easily? During the entire process, I was only hit once by those people. That attack was blocked by the armor and didn't cause any damage at all. Could this be a karmic adversity? Or could it be that he had encountered something extremely dangerous, but he was completely unaware of it? He thought about it for a bit, replaying everything that happened in his mind. After eliminating all the possibilities, Gu Qingshan was getting closer and closer to the answer. Seems like there's something wrong with that tree, he muttered to himself. When he saw that tree, he also released his inner sight to check onto the desert. Unfortunately, his inner sight couldn't find anything. If my karmic adversity really came from that tree, then it must be far more powerful than he could imagine. Otherwise, a cultivator's inner sight wouldn't be fooled. So what's going on? Recalling the little black scorpion he saw after he finished his meditation, Gu Qingshan seemed to understand a bit. After thinking for a bit, he remembered something. Putting his hand on his inventory bag, Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to check inside. The branch that the tree gave him was still perfectly fine inside the inventory bag. It was a black, sharp branch. At the time, I was a bit cautious and only used a hand seal to put the branch into my inventory bag. But now, because of his suspicions, he was even more afraid to touch the branch. Gu Qingshan moved his hand away from the inventory bag and silently sighed. He quickly made up his mind. Although I don't know why the other party let me go, I got lucky this time. I need to be more careful from now on. I can't be so reckless anymore. As for the branch, it's the one that decided the truth of this matter. According to Wang Cheng's memories, there are a few organizations in the black market that specialize in appraising treasures. I'll just need to take the branch and appraise it to confirm the answer. It's time to go. Gu Qingshan put the cushion away, took out a pill, and put it in his mouth. His figure moved, and he flew into the sky, rushing high up into the blue sky. The higher he went, the smaller the sandstorm. Finally, Gu Qingshan arrived at a place where there was almost no sandstorm. Normally, the wind would be stronger at higher altitudes. But this world was very strange. The higher you went, the smaller the wind. Gu Qingshan looked afar, only to see that the entire world was covered in sandstorm all the way to the horizon. There was no place where the sandstorm couldn't be seen. Occasionally, there were places that managed to avoid the sandstorm, but they were quickly covered by the sandstorm again. This was caused by some gigantic creature moving around in the sand. Gu Qingshan found the right direction and turned into a streak of light that flew across the sky. 5 days later, Gu Qingshan finally reached his destination. He appeared outside of a small town, looking travel-worn. This small town in front of him was the entrance to the black market, specifically responsible for the black market's approval and approval process. Famous organizations and organizations within the 900 million world layers, as well as highly developed civilizations, were allowed to directly enter the black market. But anyone else who wanted to enter would have to go through the approval process in this town. Gu Qingshan only hesitated for a single second before deciding not to reveal his identity as a member of the Justice Iron Fist Club. Bali and Miao were currently in his world, but because the world was currently changing, they couldn't come out yet. The other Lord-class combatants were all heavily wounded during the war, so they were protected by the divine frost crystals and scattered throughout the strife zones. Revealing my identity at a time like this was unwise. He sighed and arrived at the entrance of the town. There was already a long line of people waiting to enter the town. The entire line was orderly, quiet, and efficient. Everyone was polite, giving each other face. But that wasn't because everyone had a good temper. Rather, on both sides of the road leading into the town, countless human heads were piled up to form 2 thick and tall walls. The walls of human heads stretched from the faraway desert all the way to the entrance of the town. These tens of thousands of human heads all came from those who didn't follow the rules of the black market. Under the watchful eyes of countless people, the people naturally learned the rules of this place at the fastest speed possible. To enter the black market, you must follow the following 2 rules. No cutting in line. No making noise. Aside from that, the other reason why the crowd was so quiet was because many of them were holding books in their hands. Everyone had their heads lowered, silently and attentively reading the contents of their books. As Gu Qingshan carefully observed, she noticed that various books would occasionally appear above the long line of people. They would randomly hover above the heads of people waiting in line, asking them if they wanted to read the contents of their books to pass the time. This was free of charge, because the owner of the black market also felt that more people should learn about this world and the black market. Looking at the books, Gu Qing couldn't help but sigh. Unfortunately, Wang Chung can't read. Otherwise, I would have known more about the black market already. At this point, a green-covered book hovered above his head and asked in a low voice, "Sir, do you need any help?" "Ah, yes, I want to know what kind of knowledge you have," Gu Qing politely asked. "I have a record of the events before and after the fifth destruction of this world. If you're interested, you can read it now. I'm very interested. Thank you very much." "You're welcome. Then let us begin." The book slowly fell into his hand and automatically flipped to the first page. Chapter 754. In the 900 million world layers, there were almost infinite worlds. And among these worlds that were even more vast than the Milky Way, there existed a unique type of world that stood out from the rest. They were the first worlds to be born, some of which were even older than the divinities themselves. These unique worlds were naturally born, not created by the divinities. These worlds were collectively called prehistoric worlds. The world that Gu Qing was currently in was a prehistoric world. Over the countless years, it had experienced far more hardships than the majority of other worlds. This was because the world origin it contained had a unique characteristic: eternal. All living beings created by the divinities had to have a beginning and an end. But prehistoric worlds had this unique characteristic of eternal. Even the few calamities in history that could have been said to have destroyed everything only managed to temporarily destroy them. A few short years later, the laws of their worlds were once again glued back together. The prehistoric world was reborn. Of course, the prehistoric world that was reborn would also be different from before. For the living beings of billions of worlds, this eternal that surpassed the divinities became one of the things that the combatants were most interested in. Drifting Sand World had gone through a total of 37 world lords, 61 natural disasters, 9 calamities, and 7,925 wars. The book in Gu Qing hand was a detailed record of what happened before and after Drifting Sand World was destroyed for the 5th time. At the time, there was a Lord-class combatant who managed to defeat the previous owner of Drifting Sand World and took over this world. The reason why he was so powerful was because he had a unique ability to duplicate himself. He was able to make a complete duplicate of himself. This wasn't the same as cloning or incarnation techniques, as it was a real, living person. That knew him would be like his reincarnation self, possessing all the experience of martial arts. The new him only needed to train himself to start from zero and reach the peak again. And that Lord-class combatant would do everything in his power to nurture the new him after he duplicated himself. In this way, the new him would grow rapidly, and his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. At the same time, he would not encounter any danger. When this Lord-class combatant took over Drifting Sand World, he already had over 70 him. He alone was equivalent to over 70 Lord-class combatants. The reason why he took over Drifting Sand World was to study the eternal law of this world. At first, everything was normal. He gained many insights from the workings of this world. However, one day, this Lord-class expert went crazy while researching the eternal law. More than 70 of him attacked each other. Not only did he kill himself, he also destroyed the entire world. Gu Qing finished reading the detailed introduction and closed the book. The book asked, "Do you want to see anything else?" Gu Qing looked forward. At the entrance of the town, dozens of fully armed soldiers were staring at the crowd. Every time a person walked to the door, the soldiers would point their weapons at that person. Those who wanted to enter the town had to stretch out their hands and place them on a book floating in midair. It was a thick, pure silver book. This book had a name. It was called the Life Observer. The Life Watcher would decide whether or not to allow the person in front of him to enter the town. At this moment, the long queue was moving very slowly. No one knew how long they would have to wait. Gu Qing said, "If possible, I'd like to learn more about this world." Please wait a moment. The book answered and flew to the sky. Soon enough, another book landed in front of Gu Shan. Gu Shan flipped through the book and seriously read. This book described a civilization that was once born in drifting sand world. This was a magic-type civilization that reached its peak of glory over 13,000 years of history. At the time, this civilization was already connected to billions of worlds, allowing people to freely travel between world layers. Then, one day, this civilization stopped exploring the outside world. They already knew that the world they lived in was a prehistoric world, so they decided to explore the world they originally lived in. A few years later, in a single night, the entire civilization suddenly collapsed. Billions of worlds lost their connection to this civilization. In the following days, combatants from other worlds came to check out the situation out of curiosity. They found that the entire world had completely collapsed, leaving nothing but ruins of that civilization. Everyone was dead. The world was changing again. The scene at the time caused the Life Watchers to shiver. Just like that, a glorious civilization came to an end silently. Gu Shan closed the book and scowled. Would you like to see anything else? The book asked. Gu Shan looked forward. The queue was still slowly moving forward. Very well. Please give me another book, he said. The book flew to the sky. Another book landed in front of Gu Shan. Gu Shan opened the book and saw a new history of the world's destruction. While waiting in line, he read through quite a few books, only to find that this world was constantly being destroyed and reborn. None of the countless combatants who took over this world had a good ending. Then people slowly understood. This prehistoric world most likely contained some sort of strange curse or something else entirely. No one dared to casually enter this world again. Until about 1,700 years ago, the owner of the black market came to this world. He gave up on ruling this world and only established a black market in this world. From the very beginning, nothing bad happened to those who simply came to trade. Due to how powerful the owner of the black market was, no one dared to take the risk of interfering with the black market. The owner of the black market didn't stop those combatants who wanted to study this world. He allowed those combatants to enter this world and explore its mysteries. Because of that, those combatants didn't bother to mess with the black market. In fact, due to the existence of the black market, combatants would even receive protection from the black market for supplies and recuperation. Because of that, the black market won the approval of most people. As time went on, the black market became more and more prosperous. This was something that had happened in the last 1,000 years. Gu Shan closed the book and let it fly to the sky again. This time, he didn't look for a new book to read. Finally, after a long wait, there were only 2 people left in front of Gu Shan. It would soon be his turn to enter the town. At this time, at the entrance of the town, a man with a sniper rifle on his back put his hand on the Life Observer's cover. He was being examined by the Silver Book. Technological, eagle-winged creature, permission granted, the Life Observer weakly called out. Under the watchful eyes of the guards, the man entered the town. There was only one person left in front of Gu Shan. This was a tall and thin man. He walked to the entrance of the town and put his hand on the Silver Book. The Life Observer paused briefly, then lazily replied, frowny face, elemental, dark elemental creature, all normal. Hearing that, the lanky man's expression loosened a bit, but he didn't notice that as soon as the Silver Book said, all normal, the guards who were maintaining order were surprised. The lanky man continued walking into the town. Behind him, the Life Observer abruptly shouted, "Kill him!" The prepared guards all rushed forward and attacked with all their might. The lanky man's expression changed. He only had enough time to turn into a mass of dark matter and was killed on the spot before he could even use any spells. The dark shadow broke apart from his crumbling body and scattered in all directions like a gust of wind. Seeing that they had killed this monster in one fell swoop, the guards slowly retreated. The leader of the guards asked the Life Observer, "Sir, what's the situation?" The Life Observer replied, "A person with World's Apocalypse Online, Origin installed. Even from afar, I could smell the scent of order, Coming from him, the leader of the guard appeared worried and asked, "That's already the 15th one. What exactly is the Demon King order trying to do?" "Ignore it. Anything related to order can't be hidden from me," the life observer replied. It called out to Gu Qing Shan. "It's your turn." Come. The guards all looked at Gu Qing Shan. Just now, a servant of the Demon King appeared. Could the next person be an accomplice? They once again clenched their weapons. Gu Qing Shan casually stepped forward and put his hand on the cover of the silver book. "I don't have the Demon King order, but I've already carried the Demon King order, Deity order, and Life order. Can this book detect that?" Gu Qing Shan became a bit nervous. Very quickly, he felt a power coming from the book and circling around his body. This was most likely the Life Observer's detection. Time quickly passed, but the Life Observer still didn't say anything. This was already very unusual. The guards gradually revealed their killing intent. Gu Qing Shan remained silent and silently circulated the spirit energy inside his body, preparing for battle. All of a sudden, the Life Observer laughed out loud. "Ah ha ha!" it shouted. A human cultivator. He had just passed the first world and was thrown into the space vortex by the collapsing life order. What an unlucky bastard. Gu Qing Shan sneaked a glance around. The guards' breathing slowed down as they loosened their grip on their weapons. They couldn't help but smirk at his misfortune. The life order was supposed to help a person quickly gain strength. Unfortunately, as the path to godhood appeared, the life order had already been destroyed by the seven gods, its power turning into the figure of light. This newcomer was neither too early nor too late. He just happened to encounter this kind of thing. Such an experience was really too unlucky. The fact that he didn't get eaten by the monsters in the space vortex was already impressive. But this way, there shouldn't be any problems with his identity. The 900 million World Layers Alliance's Profession Division is very strict in their work, so they definitely wouldn't make any mistakes when checking a newcomer's identity. Gu Qing Shan looked at the guards, only to see that they were all smiling. He shrugged and smiled bitterly. "What can I do about it? I made it." Hearing that, the guard smiles became even brighter. "Go in, unlucky bastard. I hope your luck turns for the better," the life observer said. All right, Gu Qing Shan walked past it. While walking, he released his inner sight to carefully observe the guards, only to see that as he entered the village, the guards had already retracted their gazes and turned to the next person. Seems like he passed. Chapter 755. As soon as she entered the town, a tattered old book appeared in front of Gu Qing Shan. It observed Gu Qing Shan and spoke with a hoarse voice. "All VIPs can enter the black market directly. Only newcomers like you will need this old man to explain and guide you. Then I'll have to trouble you," Gu Qing Shan replied. The old book swayed a bit and replied, "This is my job, so you don't need to thank me. Now, Les Begin." It cleared its throat and asked, "Which organization do you come from?" "I don't belong to anyone. I already know what happened at the gate just now." The old book clicked its tongue. "In other words, you're a person without any backing, and an unlucky one at that. How pitiful. Then, as a person who came to the black market alone, what number coin did you bring with you?" "I dash." Gu Qing Shan stopped. "What money do I have?" "The only thing I have is a box of number 7 coins, which I even paid for the boat fare. I'm basically penniless right now." It felt good to throw that box of coins away at the time, but now I'm in an awkward situation. From the way the book is acting, if I say I don't have any money, I'll probably be kicked out. Gu Qing Shan braced herself and said, "I use number 7 coins, HM. I have a box of them." The old book sighed and scoffed. "The number 7 coin? You're already so old, yet you're still using such low-level coins. How pitiful. Can't help it. So I came to the black market to look for opportunities." Gu Qing Shan followed up. The old book continued, "I'll give you 2 suggestions. Firstly, you can just walk around the town. Buying anything you want will cost you all of your money. Secondly, walk to your left. About 600 meters away is our black market's labor center. You can find some profitable jobs there, but we don't accept solo work. Because this world is too big, there are many jobs that progress very slowly. So we hope that those who accept the jobs will be highly efficient. Because of that, if you're willing to work for money, it's best that you find a few people there, form a group, and accept the black market's jobs together, Gu Shan asked doubtfully. Why don't you agree to fight one-on-one? Normally, those powerful professions can accomplish many things by themselves. The old book asked in return. Do those powerful professions still need to obtain meager reward from these simple quests? Gu Shan was rendered speechless. In this small town, there is no such powerful person, the old book continued to explain, unless you can earn enough money or complete the corresponding mission to gain the qualification to enter the black market. Some of the missions there are specifically for a single person to complete. The reward is not cheap, but the requirements are also very high. Gu Shan sighed and said, All right, thank you. I'll go take a look. Go. Since you've read so many books along the way, I'll give you a piece of advice. Please go ahead. Don't trust anyone. Understood. Thank you. Gu Shan turned around and walked towards the labor dispatch center of the black market. At this moment, his heart was already somewhat anxious. Yunji is currently relying on the power of the divine crystal to temporarily maintain her vitality. There's no telling when she'll die. I need to enter the black market as soon as possible to find a way to cure her. But now, he was poor and had nothing. According to Wang Cheng's memories, within the infinite worlds, only widely recognized treasures have the possibility of being exchanged for coins. The spirit stones I have on me aren't even enough to be exchanged for coins. To earn enough money, I can sell the black tree branch, but unfortunately, I don't have the money to appraise it. This black tree branch came from my karmic adversity, so Gu Shan doesn't want to touch it with my own hands. Otherwise, if something happens, it'll be too late for regrets. Without touching it, the war god UI won't be able to identify it. So I'm still broke. Gu Shan couldn't help but sigh again. How'd I end up like this? While he was thinking, he had already reached the labor dispatch center. Everything here is very clear. Everything is written on the wall outside the center. Gu Shan carefully read through it. It's exactly as the old book said, but it's even more specific. There are no solo quests. Only temporary parties can receive a few simple quests. Regular party quests are a bit harder, but the pay is also a lot better. But as a newcomer, you must complete a temporary party quest to be qualified to join a regular party. This is a test for newcomers. If you can't even complete a simple temporary party quest, then don't even think about anything else. Just go home. While Gu Shan was reading, a voice came from next to his ear. Hello, are you a newcomer? He turned around. He saw a handsome young man looking at him with a smile. How did you know? Gu Shan asked. Because other than newcomers, no one else would read this labor dispatch guide, the young man replied. And so, we're also looking for people to form a temporary party to do a few quests in exchange for pay. How many people do you have? 3. 3 should be enough. With 3 people, we can form a party to accept a quest. We want the quest to be a bit more efficient, so we're looking for one more person. What quest? Surface material collection. Gu Shan looked at another wall. That wall was filled with people, all of them staring at the quest that kept popping up on the wall. Gu Shan's gaze passed through these people and looked around the wall. He quickly found the surface material collection quest. Even among the temporary quests, this was one of the simpler ones. It wasn't dangerous, but it took a bit of effort. The pay was also meager, so even a temporary party wouldn't be willing to accept such a quest. Gu Shan thought for a bit and quickly made his decision. Very well, since it's the first quest, I might as well do it. A temporary party quest can help me quickly familiarize myself with the quest flow. This way, I won't have any conflicts with other temporary parties, and I'll be able to quickly complete the quest. After I'm done, I'll have the qualifications to join a regular party. Using my own fighting prowess, I'll be able to find a regular party and participate in some of the most difficult quests to obtain relatively generous pay. With money, I'll be able to quickly enter the black market. Where are your companions? Gu Shan asked. The young man gestured to the group of people. Soon, a beautiful girl and a young man with an imposing appearance walked over. They stood in front of Gu Shan. Looking at them, Gu Shan couldn't help but gasp. They looked too young, like 18 to 19-year-old kids, which was in fact their age. They probably don't have much strength to back them up. Otherwise, they wouldn't have accepted such a simple quest. "You're too young," Gu Shan hesitantly said. Hearing that, the three young men looked at him strangely, as if they were looking at an idiot. "Why do you think we're too young? You're clearly the same age as us." The beautiful girl didn't understand and asked. Gu Shan face-bombed. That's right, he completely forgot that due to his reincarnation, he was only a young man around 20 years old. The two men and one woman seemed to notice the meaning in his eyes. The other young man said, "Don't look down on us. We're actually quite strong, but this quest requires 4 people to complete it faster. That's why we came to you." "All right, I'll join," Gu Shan said. The two men and one woman exchanged looks of joy. They immediately brought Gu Shan with them to register as a temporary party, then accepted the mission. Very quickly, the 4 of them finished packing up and set off. At first, they wanted to rent a cheap flying vehicle. Only after Gu Shan pointed out that the quest reward wasn't enough to rent a flying vehicle did they give up. After that, the young men and women wanted to have a meal together first. It was only when Gu Shan showed them the time limit on the quest description that they understood. So this was a quest with a limited time limit. Before they left, the beautiful girl suddenly noticed that her scimitar was missing. Everyone tried to help her recall and analyze, only to find that she casually left the scimitar next to a tree behind them. In short, the 4 of them hurriedly left the town and headed towards the quest destination. At this point, Gu Shan was already regretting his decision, but he had already accepted the quest. If he gave up halfway, he would be marked as an untrustworthy newcomer, so he could only lead the group forward. Indeed, after the imposing young man led everyone for about 20 minutes, Gu Shan noticed that something wasn't right. The group stopped, carefully analyzed the map, and found that they were going in the opposite direction. Following that, everyone agreed that Gu Shan would lead the group. Finally, they reached the destination. Fortunately, the quest was very simple. The labor center gave them 4 resource cards. Each of them had to take one of the cards and search around 4 fixed areas to collect materials. When a person's quest is completed, the resource card in their hand will give off a light chime. Once the 4 resource cards have collected the materials, the quest is complete and they can return. Gu Shan held the resource card in his hand and followed the quest requirements to walk through a vast desert. When he reached the destination, the resource card in his hand gave off a light chime. Gu Shan turned the resource card over and carefully observed it. A sand dune appeared on top of the originally blank resource card. 2 lines of text appeared at the bottom of the sand dune: Frowny Face Eastern Hills, 22nd District, Northeast, 5th District. Geographical features of this area have been collected a few moments later. The others also finished collecting. The 4 of them gathered together and gave their resource cards to Gu Shan. When Gu Shan was about to lead the group back, he noticed that 3 of the 4 resource cards were still blank. After some careful questioning, he found out that the 3 of them took a shortcut. Their reasoning was that it would be much more efficient this way. Gu Shan didn't show any signs of being tired, only pointed at the quest description and patiently explained why they couldn't take a shortcut to the other 3. The 3 of them finally understood. By the time they hurriedly finished the quest, the sky had already turned dark. The quest time limit had passed. The quest failed. Gu Shan was stunned. He didn't think such a simple quest would end up like this. Seeing how dejected everyone was, Gu Shan calmed himself down and encouraged them. "That's right, everyone has now perfectly completed the quest. As long as we learn from our mistakes, we'll definitely be able to do better next time." After that, he said a lot more encouraging words to help the 3 of them get rid of their disappointment. Finally, it's time to return. Gu Shan silently sighed in his mind and led the way back. After a few steps, he didn't see anything behind him. He turned around, only to see the 3 young people standing still, silently looking at him. "What is it now?" Gu Shan asked. At this point, he had already let go of his previous failure and smiled warmly. Among the 3 of them, the prettiest and pure-looking girl came forward. She sneaked a glance at Gu Shan. Her expression was full of fear and anxiety. The girl wanted to say something, but stopped. Gu Shan encouraged her. It's okay. You can tell me directly if you have any questions, really? The girl looked at him expectantly. You need to be a bit braver. If there's anything, you need to communicate it in time. Otherwise, if you don't say anything, I won't know what you're up to. Gu Shan slowed down his voice and continued. After a while, the girl finally gathered her courage. Chapter 756. Gu Shan was stunned for a while before he realized what the girl said. He reached his hand into the void of space and grabbed the night rain. It was now deep into the night. The sand and wind in the sky had scattered, revealing the cold moon in the sky. Standing under the moonlight, Gu Shan's entire being exuded killing intent. Normally, if someone tried to stop him and said something like that, he would have already attacked. But now, no matter how much he restrained himself, he still didn't attack. After all, he's a veteran of swords and sabers, so he could already tell that these three were only newbies. On the way here, the three of them had been very polite and sincere. Occasionally, they would even show some concern for him. But why are they trying to rob me now? Very rarely. Gu Shan was a bit confused about the current situation. He smiled and asked, "Did I hear wrong? Did you just say robbery?" The girl hurriedly nodded. Yes, it's a robbery. Seeing that the other party understood what she meant, she seemed to be somewhat relieved. Gu Shan stared at her, then quickly glanced at her companions. The two of them had already moved, trapping Gu Shan in the middle. Seems like that really is the case. Gu Shan's slender fingers stroked the night, ran a few times, then stopped moving. He tried to restrain his emotions. The girl in front of him had an innocent face, bright eyes. Her tone was timid but sincere. Her white dress fluttered in the night wind, making her look like an angel. Facing a robber who gives off such a good impression, Gu Shan really couldn't do it. He couldn't help but ask, "You want to rob me? Do you know what robbery means?" The girl froze. About that. She hurriedly took out a book from behind her, flipped through it for 5 to 6 minutes before she found a paragraph. She read it in a low voice under the moonlight. Robbery is when both sides surround each other's pieces. In this situation, whoever makes the first move will be able to take one of the other's pieces. Sorry, I got the wrong one. She glanced at Gu Shan apologetically and continued her search. Gu Shan stood there with the night rain, looking at the girl, searching for an answer. Even if she really encountered a ferocious opponent and had a fight with her life on the line, Gu Shan was not afraid at all. However, there was no point in fighting against such a fool. He sighed silently. After a while, the girl finally puffed out her chest and said confidently, "Robbery is to block the other party's path, then rob them of their belongings." After she finished speaking, she looked up at the moonlight in the sky and suddenly became anxious. "Damn it, we don't have much time left," she suddenly said in a low voice. Forbidden technique. Behind Gu Shan, a young man turned into a stream of light and flew into her hand. The teenager had become a card. The girl showed the card to Gu Shan. Forbidden weapon, bow and arrow. Before Gu Shan could react, the night rain in his hand suddenly disappeared. The night rain and the quiver on his back had both appeared inside the card in the girl's hand, being held by the teenager in the card. The girl said coldly, "Now that your attack has been sealed, hand over your things." Gu Shan didn't panic and laughed. "What if I don't?" He suddenly turned around and punched behind him. Divine skill, skyfall. Boom! His fist clashed with the other teenager. Intense shockwaves rose to the sky as both of them were sent flying. The girl's expression changed. "He was able to take on my puppet's punch." She drew a card from the void of space. It was the teenager from before. It turned out that the two U's were actually her cards. The girl held this card in one hand, while her other hand continued to draw defensive cards from the void of space. Shoulder pads, breastplate, helmet, gauntlets, leggings. She lightly flicked the cards, and all of them appeared on the teenager's body. With the help of the equipment, the teenager didn't need to defend too much. His attacks became fiercer and fiercer. "You can't win against me. Hand over everything you have." The girl shouted at Gu Shan. Gu Shan didn't say a word. He suddenly drew a blade and attacked 24 times in a row, forcing the fully armored teenager to retreat. Taking this chance, Gu Qingshan tapped his inventory bag. The Shun Wei general armor scattered into its components and quickly equipped himself. He put on the golden mask and looked at the girl. Again, seeing that, the girl clenched her teeth, took out her scimitar, and put it into the teenager's card. The teenager then took out another scimitar. He charged forward again, swinging a thick black blade phantom at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan scowled. Mutated 5 elements: wind, lightning, light, dark, sound. This blade technique is a high-level elemental blade technique that awakens dark elemental and fuses it into the technique. Who would have thought a single card would be able to do this? All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Gu Qingshan wielded her blade and charged forward. Layers of violent blue lightning surged on the Corpse King saber. The two blades clashed. Boom. The blue and black elemental spirits turned into strands of light that scattered between heaven and earth. Gu Qingshan retreated again and again, breathing heavily as she purposefully spoke. You want to take what I have? Not unless you kill me and slowly find it yourself. The girl hurriedly waved her hand dismissively. I don't want to kill you. You're a good person. Gu Qingshan went silent, feeling a headache coming on. My judgment wasn't wrong. He really doesn't have any killing intent. Then, what's the point of fighting like this? The girl also seemed to be troubled. Looks like I'll have to use overwhelming force to make him surrender, she said to herself. While she was talking, she drew a card. However, this card was different from the previous cards. The previous cards were all black, but this one was crimson. A group of glaring crimson light was drawn on the card. With this glow blocking her vision, she couldn't see what was on the card at all. True Crimson Demon Spear, the girl muttered. She quickly picked up another card with her other hand and threw it forward. Demon Scorpion Empress, come from the abyss of sin to aid me. Bam! The card turned to dust. A woman with a human face and scorpion body appeared in the desert. She exuded a frigid air around her, holding a small and intricate shield in her hand. So there's still someone who can summon me. What a surprise, the woman chuckled. At this point, the girl threw the crimson card forward. The demon Scorpion Empress caught it with her hand. Instantly, a spear covered in crimson light appeared in her hand. She wielded the shield in one hand and the spear in the other, charging straight at Gu Qingshan. Looking at the spear, Gu Qingshan's expression turned serious. He could sense an unparalleled sharpness from this spear. He raised the Corpse King blade. Right at this point, the girl moved again. She took out the first card and aimed the young man on it at Gu Qingshan. Weapon of imprisonment. Blade. In a flash, the Corpse King blade in Gu Qingshan's hand disappeared and reappeared on the card. The young man on the card held a bow in one hand, a blade in the other, and a quiver of arrows on his back. At this point, both Gu Qingshan's blade and bow were sealed by the card. As the Demon Scorpion Empress was about to get close, Gu Qingshan quickly retreated. That true Crimson Demon Spear was too terrifying. He wasn't so arrogant as to receive it with his bare hands. Little brother, don't run, the Demon Scorpion Empress smiled. She flew even faster. 2 breaths worth of time later, Gu Qingshan would have nowhere to run. Gu Qingshan quickly formed a hand seal and infused his elemental lightning power into the hand seal. 3 black holes appeared in front of him. Boom! 3 clusters of dark blue lightning the size of a millstone shot out and struck the snake demoness. Lightning technique, chaotic lightning. The snake demoness immediately stopped and raised the small shield in her hand. The 3 clusters of destructive lightning struck the small shield and abruptly disappeared. A few hundred meters away from the group, 3 clusters of lightning abruptly appeared and struck the sand dune. Boom! Under the cold moonlight, the sand and rocks flew all over the place. Gu Qingshan retreated again. Somehow, he felt some sort of danger. Gu Qingshan suddenly looked up. The fully armored young man was already diving down. After waiting for so long, the young man finally grasped this perfect opportunity. Right now, below him, the enemy had just finished casting a spell and was barehanded, unable to stop him at all. Surrender if you don't want to die. The young man swung his scimitar and shouted. As his voice faded, He had already arrived above Gu Qingshan's head. Time stopped for a split second. All of a sudden, Gu Qingshan's body gave off a desolate presence. He turned into a black shadow that shot to the sky and crashed into the young man with extreme force. The young man swung his scimitar, but was repelled by an invisible force before he could even touch Gu Qingshan's body. A faint figure appeared from Gu Qingshan's body. It was a woman with the body of a snake and the head of a human, exuding supreme dignity and presence. Bam! A loud and heavy sound of impact resounded in all directions. Divine skill, unbreakable mountain range. After that, the young man turned into smoke and disappeared. Chapter 757. The night wind slowly blew. Gu Qingshan hovered in the sky and looked down. The girl was looking up at him. Their eyes met. Gu Qingshan's eyes were calm, but the girl's eyes showed an inexplicable sense of worry. Seeing that unbreakable mountain range, the demon scorpion empress stopped and slowly spoke. This technique does have some history, but it seems like this person's martial arts foundation isn't solid enough to exert the full power of the technique. Big sis demon scorpion, help me catch him, the girl hurriedly called out. Got it. The demon scorpion empress wielded her shield in one hand and the true crimson demon spear in the other as she leapt into the sky. The girl's hands continued to draw cards from the void of space, quickly filling both hands with cards. When she was about to draw again, an autumn glint that carried a bone-chilling coldness appeared from behind her and lightly touched her neck. The sword was cold as ice. Gu Qingshan was already standing behind her with her sword. You, the girl was surprised. Gu Qingshan lightly pressed her sword down. The girl stopped talking. She suddenly started crying. You want to kill me? The girl sobbed and asked. No, I'm just curious, Gu Qingshan replied. Thanks to the unique realm of Tribulation Realm, whenever he was about to die, he would always feel something. This was the unique spirit sense granted to him by the karmic adversity. But during the fight, just now, he didn't sense any karmic adversity at all, combined with the girl's words and actions. Even though she had so many powerful cards, she didn't hold any killing intent towards me. Whether it was the weapon imprisonment, the dark elf battle dolls, the demon scorpion empress summoning, or even the true crimson demon spear, any one of them was extremely powerful. She kept saying that she wanted something from me. I'm a penniless pauper. What kind of thing could she possibly want? Dismiss all your cards. We'll talk, Gu Qingshan said. The girl did as she was told. All the cards and summoned creatures dissipated in an instant. Only the demon scorpion empress didn't leave right away. She descended from the sky and stood on the desert, silently watching the scene in front of her. Don't worry, my contract with the cards has ended. I'm just a bit curious, so I decided to stay and watch, she smiled and said. Gu Qingshan glanced at her. Such a powerful existence didn't even try his best from the start. It was said that the summoned creature and the card master's mind were connected and would fight according to the card master's thoughts. The demon scorpion empress' lackadaisical attitude in battle was most likely because she didn't have a strong will to fight. Gu Qingshan ignored her and asked the girl, You noticed me from the beginning, so you specifically invited me to join your team? Yes, the girl replied obediently. You wanted to rob me a long time ago. Yes. If that's the case, I'll have to take a look myself. I can't guarantee anything, the girl answered seriously. Gu Qingshan nodded. Since she's being so serious, it's worth trusting her a bit. If the girl was boasting, he wouldn't believe her. Suddenly, the girl's expression changed. Oh no, he's trying to take me back. Black chains with thorns appeared on her body and tightly bound her. This is what's restraining you? Gu Qingshan looked at the chains and asked. That's right. Ha. I can't make a deal with you anymore, the girl sorrowfully replied. The black chains took her to the sky, about to fly towards a certain direction. Gu Qingshan went silent for a split second. Yunji's life is in danger. If I miss this chance, I'll have to spend a lot of time and effort to earn money, and I might not even be able to find the correct cure. I don't even know if I'll be able to make it in time. Gu Qingshan's gaze became sharp. The six paths great mountain sword suddenly flew up. Streaks of starlight shot out from the sword, like meteors streaking across the sky, slashing at the girl's body. Sha 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 sha. Secret art, silver star. The blinding starlight turned into thin lines that coincidentally struck the intersection point of the chains that bound the girl, cutting them in half. Lawbreaker. The spiked black chains scattered with a loud rumble, falling down and disappearing. The sword flashed and returned to Gu Qingshan's side. The girl appeared happy, but quickly became fearful. She shouted at Gu Qingshan from the sky, "He'll definitely come. We need to run away now." Gu Qingshan's figure flashed and caught her in his arms. "If you don't want to be captured, turn into a card right now," he curtly said. The girl was very obedient this time and turned into a card. Gu Qingshan put the card into his inventory bag. He expanded his inner sight to its maximum range and activated ground shrink. In a split second, he disappeared from the sky and reappeared at the edge of the inner sight's range a few hundred miles away. Gu Qingshan didn't dare to stop, nor did he care about his spirit energy consumption. So he activated ground shrink again. In just a few breaths worth of time, he was already far away from where he was. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, where the two of them originally fought. Chapter 758. An intense black glow enveloped the desert, plunging the entire area into darkness. A man appeared in the middle of the darkness. He was wearing a black robe with runes written all over it and a black hat. The brim of the hat was pressed low, hiding his face. In this entire area, only the demon Scorpion Empress wasn't swallowed by the darkness. The man looked around and focused on the demon Scorpion Empress. "Where are you?" he questioned. The demon Scorpion Empress covered her mouth with her hand and yawned. "You're asking me?" "Of course I'm asking you," the man angrily replied. The demon Scorpion Empress tilted her head and thought for a bit before answering. "Ah, he was here just now, but I don't know where he's gone now. You dare trick me?" "I'm only telling the truth." Fine, just wait until I find that card. Then we'll talk about you." The man stomped his foot and was about to leave. Suddenly, his expression changed as he threw 7 to 8 cards out. Layers of light surrounded him, forming a wall of darkness, a few sturdy shields, an armored giant guard, as well as a semi-transparent barrier of darkness. Boom! A streak of light shot towards him like a bolt of lightning. Before the streak of light, the walls collapsed, all the shields shattered, the giant guard was pierced through. Only the semi-transparent barrier managed to stop the streak of light. The black-cloaked man was sent flying a few dozen meters away. He crouched down on the ground, looking up at the barrier. A sharp stinger stabbed into the barrier and sank deep into it. It seemed the stinger was just a little bit away from piercing through the barrier. "Scorpion Empress, did you take that card? Do you want to declare war?" The man's expression turned serious as he took out a card from the void of space and showed it to the demon Scorpion Empress. There was nothing else on the card, only a horn. The horn of war. The demon Scorpion Empress slowly pulled her stinger back and spoke with a cold tone. "It doesn't matter who you call. Anyone who sees what happened just now will think that I'm defending my dignity. Take that card. Then we'll talk about me?" She mimicked the man's tone. "How do you think Grey Hand will decide? I'd be more than happy to have a duel with you. I guarantee that I'll eat you up bit by bit until you're completely eaten. Only then will I make you lose consciousness." Demon Scorpion Empress said while wagging her tail. Her upper body was charming and alluring, but her lower body was that of a scorpion. The incomparably sharp stinger on her back was still pointed at her opponent's heart, as if she would strike again at any moment. "Humph! Since you dare to play that card, then you're the one who broke the agreement. You're the main culprit behind the outbreak of war," the man said unwillingly. The demon Scorpion Empress smiled. "I was wondering why that card was able to sneak out on its own. Turns out Greyhound sent a brainless idiot like you to guard it. You can't blame anyone else for this," she said. "When I get the evidence, you won't be able to laugh anymore. the man said in a deep voice. He had regained his composure and took out a card. Spell reappear. The man growled and activated the card. In the surrounding darkness, rays of light formed the shadow of a card. In a split second, over a dozen cards appeared in the void of space. The man walked up to each of the cards and carefully observed them. The war doll, the black scimitar, the true crimson demon spear, as well as a few equipment cards. Every single card that the girl used was manifested in the form of a spell in front of the man. He looked through them one by one until he finally saw the card. Abyss of Sin's Summon. King's Descent. The man's expression changed. It was now that he understood. So the demon Scorpion Empress was summoned. This instantly proved the demon Scorpion Empress' innocence. Thinking back to how he spoke before, he did offend her a bit. However, why would the demon Scorpion Empress do something so insignificant? The man looked at the demon Scorpion Empress and spoke in a low voice. The summoning card has disappeared, but you're still here. Why is that? The demon Scorpion Empress stared straight at him. Are you questioning me? The man held it in for a bit, then changed his tone. May I ask why you're still here? The demon Scorpion Empress replied. Pig brain, you still don't understand? Because I live in this desert. Where else could I go? The man froze. It's over. Everything the other party did fits perfectly. He suddenly understood. Regardless of whether or not the other party did something, they've already bought enough time for that card. With my own strength, I probably won't be able to track that card anymore. He let out a deep sigh. That card was extremely important, but it suddenly disappeared. This messed up my plan. It's because I panicked too much that I ended up being toyed with by this scorpion. With that in mind, he stopped hesitating and took out a card to activate it. Very quickly, a low male voice came from the card. Did you find it? Teacher, that card summoned the demon Scorpion Empress to stop me, so I haven't found it yet. The man glared at the demon Scorpion Empress and answered. Demon Scorpion Empress? The other side went silent. Suddenly, a book jumped out from the card and flew in front of the demon Scorpion Empress. The demon Scorpion Empress smiled and put her hand on the cover of a book. The book immediately called out. The agreement has not been damaged. The Empress was only summoned. The man panicked and knelt on the ground. Sir Grehan, she attacked me. We'll talk about this later. You need to find that card right away, the low male voice spoke. Yes, the man hurriedly replied. Another book appeared in front of him. The book automatically flipped open, revealing a card embedded in every page. These are the 537 card restraints that I placed on that card. You are now allowed to use them. Go and grab that card right away. Yes. The man took the book and flew up into the air. But the card he used to communicate with her still hasn't lost its effect. The man called Grehan spoke with a serious tone. Empress, I have to solemnly tell you, that card is very important to me. I hope you understand this. What does that have to do with me? I was just taking a walk in the desert when someone suddenly summoned me. I still don't understand why the demon Scorpion Empress giggled. Grehan went silent for a bit, then also smiled. I don't think you would interfere with my card refinement. After all, this is my personal business, and you're a noble monarch. Of course, you take care of your black market. We'll live our lives here without worries. This is what we agreed on. That is indeed the case, Grehan agreed. But your disciple has the natural arrogance of a card user. I feel like this will only make him more and more foolish, the demon Scorpion Empress continued. Interfering with your business will not bring any benefits to our Abyss of Sin. This is very clear. So you should have trusted me from the start. Not that idiot who ruined everything. After a bit of silence, the other side sighed. It can't be helped. I have a few things to do, so I won't be able to return in time. So I had to let my disciple manage the black market for a bit. Who knew he would be so useless? Grehan's tone was a bit irritated. He had already seen the tracking spells, so he knew that the demon Scorpion Empress was indeed summoned. Even the agreement between the two sides didn't have any problems. And, just as she said, stopping me won't bring her any benefits. A person like the demon Scorpion Empress wouldn't even bother to look at you if there wasn't a huge benefit. That's why the entire thing really was messed up by my useless disciple. How foolish. Card users have always been above many professions, but if they can't maintain their composure and humility, they'll sooner or later be stuck at the same spot, due to their arrogance. This disciple of mine has always overestimated his own status. He needs to accept the harshest of scolding and use a clear mind to understand the truth and laws. Unfortunately, I'm still a few 100 million world layers away, unable to return in time. Whether it's scolding my disciple or finding that important card, I can't do anything right now. So even someone as calm as Greyhan was feeling a bit irritated right now. If my disciple has been rude, I apologize on his behalf, Greyhan said. The demon Scorpion Empress replied, "It's fine, it's just a small matter. I just hope that you won't randomly summon me again. After all, I have a lot of things to do." Greyhan paused a bit, then spoke with a gentler tone. "Don't worry, I've set up a few hundred restraining spells on that card. I'll definitely capture it and keep a close watch on it. It won't cause you any more trouble." That's good. The demon Scorpion Empress was pleased. "Then we'll meet again. See you again." The card disappeared. All the spells disappeared as well. The demon Scorpion Empress silently stood there, seemingly in thought. A while later, she sighed softly and said, "I can only help you this much." In the endless desert, Gu Qingshan was still running. Although nothing was chasing after him, he was still feeling tense and tense. To be able to seal such a card, the other party must be incredibly powerful, perhaps even undefeatable. If this card was really that important, the other party wouldn't have only left behind a single method. At a certain point, Gu Qingshan's expression changed. The sense of urgency in his heart suddenly increased. A faint sense of death silently appeared in his spirit sense. Compared to other professions, it was incredibly difficult for a cultivator to face a tribulation and advance. But there was one good thing about being a cultivator. Their spirit sense was incredibly sharp, allowing them to predict vague situations in advance. Although Gu Qingshan's current location was quite far away from where the battle took place, Gu Qingshan faintly understood that this was only the beginning. Something is chasing after us. Gu Qingshan suddenly stopped. He tapped his inventory bag and took out the card. As soon as the card appeared, it turned into a white-clothed girl. "Use the spell card to check if we're safe or not," Gu Qingshan told her. "Not at all," the girl hurriedly answered. "I've been put on a lot of restraining spells. There must be a tracking technique among them." Gu Qingshan took out the Blood Sea God Army card and asked, "If I give this card to you, can you dispel those restraining and tracking techniques?" Chapter 759. The Night Sky. The black-cloaked man was holding a book in his hand as he flew towards a certain direction. The book was open in front of him. A card was giving off an invisible presence that enveloped him. This card was carrying him as he flew. Until he caught up to the target, the card's power would only disappear. So right now, the black-cloaked man didn't need to do anything other than rest and recharge, waiting for the moment he caught up to the target to attack. Since the black-cloaked man didn't have anything to do, he casually flipped through the various cards in the book. A look of envy gradually appeared in his eyes. This is Guru's book of cards. All the cards in the book exist for the sake of restraining that unique card. Just by flipping through the description of the cards in the book, as well as the order in which the cards are placed and their corresponding combinations, I'm already inspired. When will I be able to reach Guru's level? That day shouldn't be too far away. After all, I'm the most outstanding student of this year. Even Guru couldn't help but admit that I'm quite talented with cards. The black-cloaked man sighed and began to imagine that day. At this point, the night sky was silent. The wind had stopped. On the card book, the tracking card burst out a bright light. This meant that I'm about to catch up to the target. The black-cloaked man immediately prepared for battle. In the next second, his whole body fell to the ground. Boom! Sand and rocks were blown everywhere. Gu Qingshan and the girl stopped. A black-cloaked man appeared from within the flying sand. Despite stalling for time, the other party still came. Since the other party has a way to track them, Gu Qingshan couldn't possibly waste all of her spirit energy on running away. If that's the case, the other party will eventually catch up to them, and Gu Qingshan won't have enough power to retaliate. Gu Qingshan thought of something. He took out the night rain and equipped a quiver of arrows on his back. Is that him? Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. No, "This is his disciple," the girl quickly answered. She was holding the Blood Sea God Army card in her hand as a blood-colored glow appeared around her body. She was communicating with Blood Sea, hoping to wash away her past identity and become a card that belonged to Blood Sea. Gu Qingshan relaxed a little when she heard that. He also felt that the person in front of him didn't seem to be so powerful that he couldn't be defeated. However, he was a true card master. This was an innately powerful profession. Not good. I can't beat the card master, so I can only buy you some time. Run. Gu Qingshan shouted. You actually don't have to do that for me. The girl bit her lip. He did not expect this person to be so kind-hearted. They had only met by chance, yet he was willing to sacrifice himself to block the enemy for him. With tears in her eyes, she quickly flew into the distance. Gu Qingshan blocked him and raised her hand to shoot. He immediately activated Flurry. The arrow was like an afterimage as it flew out in an arc. When the black-robed man saw this, he just smiled contemptuously. Curved arrow? Your archery skills are pretty good, but it's a pity that such a low-level profession is no match for me. A card appeared in his hand. On the card, a few shields with different lights were changing positions in a cycle. Finally, a blue shield appeared in the middle of the card. The card disappeared and quickly turned into a ball-shaped defensive barrier. Long-range attack barrier. This barrier has a 5x increase in long-range attack defense, but the corresponding decrease in spell and close-range defense. As soon as the barrier appeared, Gu Qingshan's arrows had already arrived. Ding, 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 ding. The arrows rained down, but not a single one of them managed to pierce through the barrier. Pitiful archer, unless you're at least 3 times stronger than me, you wouldn't be able to break through this barrier. The black-robed man crossed his arms and purposefully sighed regretfully. His archery skills are quite good. Unfortunately, such archery skills are nothing in front of a cardmaster. This was a natural profession suppression. Unless the opponent could advance from the most basic class of archer to a higher level, more special long-range attacker, it would be impossible to kill them. At this point, the outcome of the battle was already decided. The black-robed man took out a card. That's enough. This farce should end now. I need to quickly take that card and report to the guru. As he was thinking, he suddenly realized that the archer had dropped his longbow. I surrender, the archer shouted in despair. The black-robed man froze. TCH, so not only is his profession trash, but his character is also trash. If that's the case, I'll have a bit of fun killing him. Once he completely disarms himself and kneels down to beg for mercy, I'll kill him. In that case, his expression of despair and anger would definitely bring her joy. As for the special card that can escape, the black-robed man glanced at the card book in his hand. This is the guru's book. All the spell cards that can restrain that special card are in here. She won't be able to escape. After thinking through everything, the black-robed man quickly made his decision. His tones softened. Surrender? That's a wise choice, but first, you need to throw down the quiver on your back as well. Hurry up. Got it. The archer took off the quiver and threw it on the ground. Such decisiveness made the black-robed man feel even more disdainful of him. But that's to be expected. The archer had no chance of winning against me. The black-robed man looked at the bow and quiver on the ground and relax a bit. Now, kneel. While ordering, he stared at the archer, wanting to enjoy the look of humiliation and despair on his face. Of course, to prevent the archer from doing anything desperate, he still held the card in his hand. The archer hesitated for a bit, puffed out his chest, and bravely declared, "A soldier can be killed, but not humiliated." The archer abruptly turned around and ran. As a long-range archer, he was quite agile, so his running speed was quite fast. But what good would that do? The black-robed man couldn't help but chuckle. He put away the defensive card from before, randomly took out a movement card, and threw it out. The card was activated. The black-robed man disappeared and reappeared right in front of the archer, perfectly blocking his path. The archer was shocked, but he couldn't stop his forward momentum right away, so he rolled a few times on the ground to stabilize himself. No more, no less, he just happened to be 10 feet away from the archer. "So, this is a card user?" the archer muttered in shock. The black-robed man gracefully picked up a card in his hand and slowly spoke. Of course, for a card user, movement within a small area is a simple matter. There's no need for them to be in such a sorry state like you, he sighed and said, Pitiful archer, you can now choose whether to die or kneel. The archer sighed as well. The fearful expression on his face disappeared without a trace as he casually spoke. You are a proud person. In truth, both arrogance and prejudice are dangerous in battle. Following this, the black-robed man suddenly felt a sense of unease. But there's no one around. The archer's bow and arrows have already been disarmed. What kind of danger could there be? The black-robed man couldn't help but draw a few more cards. However, a terrifying thing suddenly happened. He found himself unable to draw a card, unable to move at all. This seems to be some sort of controlling power. But where is the enemy? Damn it, I clearly have almost 100 cards, countless abilities and abilities that I haven't used yet. If I use my full strength, even this world will tremble. Who exactly is restraining me? With a deep sense of confusion and unwillingness, the black-robed man's entire world returned to darkness. At the very last moment, he seemed to see the archer wielding his sword, swinging it at him from afar. Poof! Blood sprayed everywhere, but was quickly blown away by the fierce wind created by the sword phantom. The corpse couldn't endure the power of the sword phantom and abruptly broke into pieces. The spherical barrier had the ability to block out long-range attacks, but it couldn't stop the sword at all. According to the card law, this attack was considered a close-range attack. Secret art, Life Seeker, within 10 feet. Life Seeker. Gu Qingshan didn't look at the corpse again. A person who treated a battle with contempt like this wasn't worthy of his attention. He only stared at the void of space in front of him. Chapter 760. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. You've surpassed the limit of cultivation and killed a card user several times more powerful than yourself. You've obtained an excess amount of soul points. As this card user was a user of the Death deck, he was far more powerful than a normal card user. The total amount of soul points you should have received has been increased. In summary, from this card user's death, you've obtained a total of 100,000 plus 20,000 is equal to 120,000 soul points. Your remaining soul points is Gu Qingshan. Looking at this huge amount of soul points, recalling the 1 million soul points required to upgrade War God skills, the excitement in his heart disappeared without a trace. The followers of the 7 gods were slowly lighting their tree of divinity. These followers will receive the method to advance to divinity. The new era has arrived. If I can't keep up, I'll be under the control of others more and more. Gu Qingshan shook his head and looked at the book a few meters away from the corpse. The card book. Gu Qingshan's mind moved. The card book flew into his hand. Death's Imprisonment Book. This card book contains a total of 537 binding cards, all of which are specific to a single unique card. Because you're not allowed to use this imprisonment card set, you cannot activate any of the cards in this book. Gu Qingshan threw the Death's Imprisonment Book out. The 6 Paths Great Mountain sword flashed in the air and stabbed into the Death's Imprisonment Book. As if it was alive, the Death's Imprisonment Book uttered a shrill scream. But the 6 Paths Great Mountain sword was still holding it in place. No matter how much the book struggled, it wouldn't budge. Gu Qingshan's gaze became sharp. Countless black sword phantoms erupted from the sword, circling around the card book to kill it. Bam! The Death's Imprisonment Book finally scattered into a translucent outer shell made of runes of various colors. The outer shell slowly dissipated into the void of space. This scene was very similar to when the big rooster broke through the blood sea barrier in a bowl. All of a sudden, a black streak of light shot through the void of space at lightning speed and landed on Gu Qingshan's arm. Gu Qingshan quickly raised her hand to take a look. This was a twisted black rune that flickered briefly on Gu Qingshan's arm before disappearing without a trace. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. You killed a follower of the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper's law has marked you. Your offense against the faith of death has been made known to a high-ranking death priest. From now on, You must avoid the Holy Church of Death's area of activity. Otherwise, you will be discovered and hunted down by the god of death's divine envoy. Gu Qingshan glanced at it and remained silent for a moment before asking, "System, is there a way to remove this mark?" Ding! The war god UI responded with a clear voice. In the infinite worlds, there will always be a way to solve your problem. Please search for it yourself. Gu Qingshan relaxed a little. As long as there was a way. He walked to the corpse and searched it. After a while, he found a heavy black bag. Apostle of Death, card user, God's chosen Spire high-ranking student, Kara's personal stash. To open this bag, you will need to grasp a profound, space-opening secret art. Looking away from the war god UI, Gu Qingshan decided to put this black bag away first. I'm so poor right now that I can't even take out a number 1 coin, so I'll have to think of a way to open this black bag. Among many professions, card users were the wealthiest. After organizing everything, Gu Qingshan formed a hand seal. A primary flame, kindling technique. Flames started to rise from the corpse, giving off a loud, crackling sound. Very quickly, everything disappeared without a trace. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight and looked around. There were no traces at all. At least within the range of his abilities, he couldn't find any traces left behind. He nodded in satisfaction, then leapt into the air and flew away. Following the direction in which the girl had escaped, he quickly found her traces in the desert. In truth, the battle didn't last very long. During the entire battle, most of the time was used to numb the black-cloaked man. The real battle was only the final strike. The girl didn't manage to run very far. Gu Qingshan's figure flashed and appeared in front of her. When a young girl saw him, she immediately stopped in her tracks. "It's over," Gu Qingshan casually said. The girl looked at him blankly for a few moments. Then she started sobbing. While crying, she resolutely said, "You died to save me. Please rest in peace, because I will fight that person to the death. I will not let them capture me again." Gu Qingshan. She thought I died in battle? While Gu Qingshan was thinking that, the girl was already praying for him with both hands clasped together. "Oh, departed soul, please rest in peace. There is nothing in this world that can trouble you. You shall enter eternal peace." Gu Qingshan helplessly shrugged. "That's enough. I'm still alive." The girl froze. She stared blankly at Gu Qingshan, carefully observing his expression, then glanced at his shadow before hesitantly asking, "Are you a living person?" "Of course," Gu Qingshan answered. "Then, where's that bad guy?" the girl asked. "I killed him," Gu Qingshan answered. The girl blinked, looked at him from top to bottom, and doubtfully asked, "Killed him? With just you?" Gu Qingshan was speechless. He suddenly felt like he owed this card something in his past life. But the girl wasn't a complete idiot. The girl closed her eyes, sensed herself, and exclaimed in joy, "All the restraints on my body are gone. I'm free." She burst into tears of joy and cried loudly. Gu Qingshan stood there, waiting for her to calm down. A few moments later, the girl rubbed her reddened eyes, took out the Blood Sea God Army, and gave it to Gu Qingshan. "You don't need it?" Gu Qingshan received the card. The girl replied, "All the restraints on my card have disappeared, so I don't need to find another card deck to seek refuge." That's a good idea. I heard that if a card wants to leave the deck it belongs to, it must pay a heavy price. And if a single card wants to enter a deck, it will also have to go through layers of tests and pay a heavy price, Gu Qingshan said. "That's right," the girl sighed and nodded. "I was the same, because I decided to leave that card deck. I couldn't help but sleep for a very long time." A moment of silence. The girl abruptly covered her face and screamed, "Embark, why do you want to know my secret?" Gu Qingshan helplessly replied, "Hey, get it straight. You're the one who said it." The girl didn't let it go. "I don't care, you bad guy. You must have done it on purpose." Gu Qingshan forcefully suppressed her emotions and said, "You have to be reasonable. I'm not a card user. I don't even know what's going on with you. Do you have a motive for asking about my past like that?" The girl sorrowfully asked. Gu Qingshan. Chapter 761. The Holy Church of Death. An ancient coin was flying back and forth between his fingers. His nimble fingers changed their motions and finally flicked it. Ting! The coin flew to the center of the large round table, but didn't fall down right away. Instead, it continued to spin. Everyone in the solemn church's main hall held their breaths without saying a word. The coin was still spinning, attracting everyone's attention. After a while, a solemn voice came. This used to be one of the most important matters of the Holy Church, but after the appearance of the path to godhood, everyone temporarily forgot about it. The voice went silent. Still no one said anything. A black-robed man walked out and knelt down on one knee next to the round table. "My apologies, Pope. This was my oversight. I, Graham, hereby apologize to everyone," he said. Graham, one of the 8 cardinals of the Holy Church of Death. He used this gesture to admit his mistake. The atmosphere in the main hall became a bit more relaxed. With a bit of concern, the Pope spoke. "Graham, I heard that your disciple has died. My condolences. He didn't do his job well. He deserved to die," Graham replied. "What do you intend to do next?" the Pope asked. "I will personally go and find the person who ruined the Holy Church's grand plan, then take back the card," Graham answered. "Personally? You've already lit your tree of divinity?" the Pope asked. Still a bit off, Graham sighed. Everyone around couldn't help but whisper to each other. If Graham were to personally do this, he would have no choice but to give up on lighting his tree of divinity. This would be the same as giving up on the path to godhood, the most severe form of self-punishment. But who can he blame for this? In reality, if it weren't for the sake of lighting his tree of divinity, Graham wouldn't have left Drifting Sand World at all. If the path to godhood didn't appear, he would have stayed in that world and continued to protect that extremely important card. But now it's been confirmed that all methods to restrain that unique card have been destroyed. The Church's several thousand years of blood, sweat, and tears have all gone down the drain. Graham made such a huge mistake, so this was the punishment he deserved. The Pope silently listened to everything and sighed. He was very pleased with the current situation. Graham's abilities were quite commendable. Now was the perfect time to save Graham and gain the gratitude and loyalty of this powerful bishop. Thinking of this, the Pope said softly, "Summon the oracle." As soon as these 3 words came out, everyone present hurriedly got up and knelt on one knee. The Pope carefully took out a black metal box. He opened the box. Buzz! A heavy curtain of night was released from the box and quickly enveloped the entire hall. In the night, the oracle that the god of death had left behind for countless years resounded directly in everyone's hearts. The dark curtain of night only lasted for a breath of time before disappearing at an extremely fast speed. Everyone revealed a look of understanding. "Is everything clear?" the Pope asked. "Understood," a bishop replied. "Since the appearance of the path to God, believers of all levels must set the path to godhood as their primary goal. They must not go against it or deviate from it." The Pope looked at Graham and smiled. "The path to godhood is the path designated by God. We cannot go against it, so you should stay here for now. Wait until you light the tree of divinity." Graham immediately revealed a look of deep gratitude. If given a choice, who would be willing to give up their chance to become a god? Suddenly, a voice called out, "Your Grace the Pope, I object." Everyone turned to look, only to see that it was a bishop who usually didn't get along with Graham. He angrily spoke. After so many years of preparation, the Church finally grasped a rare chance to capture that card when she was at her weakest. But Graham ruined everything. Shouldn't he be punished? The Pope kindly replied, "The reason why Graham left Drifting Sand World was because he answered God's call and returned to light the tree of divinity, and the matter regarding that card was part of our Church's plan, comparing the two. Graham obeying God's will and returning is the right thing to do. Perhaps God also believes that we shouldn't attempt to obtain that secret. So he ordered our devout Bishop Graham to return immediately." The bishop's lips twitched and spoke with an expression of unwillingness. But Graham is still. The Pope cut him off and said, "The path to godhood is the will of God. Do you believe that your opinion is more important than God's will?" At the end of his words, the Pope's tone became a bit cold. The bishop was surprised and hurriedly replied, I wouldn't dare." The Pope looked around. No one objected. This was a God's will, something that the death god himself arranged countless years ago. Who would dare to go against God's will? Under everyone's silent agreement, Gray Hand slowly stood up and spoke gratefully. "Thank you, Your Holiness. No need to be so polite. The will of God is paramount, cannot be disrespected," the Pope replied. At this point, the atmosphere in the hall slowly became relaxed. That's right, God had already arranged all of this countless years ago. How could God not notice the church's intentions? Perhaps God really didn't want the church to search for that card's secret. Everyone silently thought that. They couldn't help but look back at the round table. The spinning coin on the table slowly slowed down. If one's vision was good enough, they would be able to see the engravings on both sides of the coin as it spun. The front side of the coin depicted a sleeping girl. The young girl was surrounded by all kinds of complicated and mysterious patterns. These engravings protected the girl at the center of the coin. The reverse side of the coin depicted a chaotic mass that would cause one's heart to palpitate if they looked at it for too long. That's right, this was the third coin among the 1001 coins, Sleeping Maiden. If this hashtag 999th coin appeared in the real world, no one would be able to recognize its true name, because only one of the top 3 coins were ever issued. And because this coin didn't even have the most basic information about the coin, this was one of the 3 most mysterious coins in the entire strife zones. This coin didn't represent wealth. It represented a secret that couldn't even be measured by money. If Gu Shan was here, he would be surprised to find that the girl depicted on this coin looked exactly the same as the girl he saved. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to find out about this for a very long time. In the hall, the Pope's voice came again. "Then, this matter has been decided. Gray Hand will stay and continue to light the tree of divinity according to the God's will. The rest of you will also do the same. Before lighting the tree of divinity, no one is allowed to leave. Immediately put up a high bounty on that person's head in the entire strife zones. All believers should focus on becoming a god. Everything else can be put aside for now." Next, Anna is about to return. The path to godhood was opened by her and the Holy Church of Fate's Su Ke'er. This is the favor of the gods, as well as the greatest glory. Everyone, please discuss how we should reward her. Drifting Sand World. The Great Desert. A sand dune surrounded by layers upon layers of concealment formations. Gu Shan formed a hand seal. The sand and rocks parted to both sides. The blue ice crystal appeared in front of him and the white-clothed girl. Inside the ice crystal, a beautiful woman covered in blood had her eyes closed, seemingly on the verge of death, in a deep coma. Lord-class combatant, Yin Ji. "This is the person you wanted me to save?" the white-clothed girl asked. "That's right. Please take a look," Gu Shan replied. The white-clothed girl walked forward and knelt down in front of the blue ice crystal. "Divine power, frost crystal. It's been a long time." The white-clothed girl lightly stroked the surface of the ice crystal and sighed emotionally. Gu Shan's eyebrows twitched a bit and hurriedly asked, "You know about this? Then do you know the person who cast this technique?" The girl shook her head. "This divine technique is very old. There are quite a few divinities who know how to use it, so I can't tell for sure who it was. I'm going to try to heal her now. Don't say anything for now." "Got it," Gu Shan replied. The girl continued to draw cards from the void of space. She stuck each card onto the surface of the ice crystal, then quickly put them away. Inside the ice crystal, Yun Ji's complexion was getting better. Her wounds were also showing signs of healing. Seeing that, Gu Shan was overjoyed. But the girl put all the cards away and stood up. I can't save her." Gu Shan froze. He encouraged her. "You seem to have healed some of her wounds just now. Don't lose heart. Try again." The girl shook her head. "The current me alone won't be able to do anything." She took out a book and drew a card from it. The girl stared at Gu Shan and sighed. "Since you've saved me, I'll release my wisdom." The card scattered into a cluster of light and slowly entered the girl's body. The girl stood still. However, her entire temperament had changed. Her expression became solemn. Her every movement exuded a sense of dignity and holiness. The girl didn't say anything else and placed her hand on the ice crystal again. "Show me your secret, divine technique," she whispered. Following the girl's actions, the ice crystal became unstable and began to shake intensely several times. Gu Qingshan was shocked to see this. If the ice crystal broke, Yunji would die without a doubt. But the girl was able to shake the ice crystal made from divine technique just by touching it. This meant that she had found some sort of method. For a while, Gu Qingshan wasn't sure if it was the right decision to bring the girl here. While he was feeling anxious, the girl had pulled her hand back and stood up again. She wiped the sweat off her forehead and told Gu Qingshan, "The situation is very complicated. You have to carefully listen to what I'm going to say next." Gu Qingshan nodded. The girl continued, "On the surface, this seems like a single ice crystal, but there are actually more than one of these ice crystals. According to the divine power I sense from the ice crystal, there are a total of 381 of them." Gu Qingshan went silent briefly. This was most likely the number of people that Lady Blacksea saved. The others had most likely died in battle or had their souls eaten by that monster. The girl continued, "These 381 pieces of divine power ice crystals form a circular structure. This structure forms a unique energy absorption tool. Similar to your cultivator's formation, this formation-like tool can absorb various types of power from the void of the strife zones to replenish itself. This way, the ice crystal can last for a very long time, and the people inside will also retain their last bit of vitality without dying, but that's where the problem lies. Unless you have the ability to heal these 381 heavily wounded people at once, all the ice crystals will be undone at the same time. Only then will these people awaken and come back to life." Gu Qingshan was a bit confused. "Why is that? Why can't I save them one by one?" The girl stared closely at the ice crystal with an expression of praise. "In truth, this divine technique can be set to save them one by one, but the other party purposely made it so that they have to be saved at the same time. This is a deeper meaning." "What deeper meaning?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Unless your power reaches an unimaginable level and is able to save everyone at once, even if you save them all, it would still be useless. It would be better to have these people temporarily hide and not be discovered. I believe this is what the other party wanted to say," the girl replied. "How can you deduce so much? That doesn't make sense at all," Gu Qingshan refuted. "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.